So yeah, in this scenario, we are looking to push forward, take space like we did, which is wonderful. I like that you saw a bunch of them clump together and pop Reef Slider. The painting with the Reef Slider was definitely a deliberate decision on your part, so good stuff, good stuff. Yep. It was a good pick from the on the wiper there. In this scenario, you have control of the zone. So here you have control of the zone, and you have a teammate that's over there that's ready to paint. So you end up trying to help with the zone, which isn't important because the last person is behind you. So this is another scenario where I think you want to take space toward the enemy side of the base. We don't necessarily need to paint the zone. I think the replay broke. Wait, did it? If not, what did you hit? Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, we get the pick. We still end up going this way. My bad. The replay was broken and we didn't see this this player come through. But yeah, at this point, you don't need to worry about painting the zone. You need to worry about finding that last person and taking space. And based off of the context clues, we should know that they're swimming off respawn. Something like a blaster is going to be less likely to jump in, or at least a rapid blaster. Some other blasters may run QR and may be a little bit more jump heavy. But instead of trying to like focus on the zone, just keep taking space forward. Because if this final person, if the blaster does try to like focus zone, then if you take space forward, you'll end up behind them. And then you'll be chilling. But now you're taking shots from the blaster with the rest of your team, which is potentially a little bit dangerous. Unfortunate they get a direct, but the end of this game just gets a little bit more scary, potentially. But I can definitely see you try to implement more some of the things that we went over in the last replay. So I'm definitely loving the improvement. But I think there's a couple of really nice things that we can quickly go over. Some of it's going to be reiterating from previous review. But yeah. So again, the concept of taking space, I think you did a lot better. But I think there's still a lot of opportunities for you to be able to push forward and force the enemy to have to deal with you instead of dealing with the objective. Because when you're here and the blaster's here, if you move backwards, then they can target you and the objective at the same time. Whereas if you move forward and start rolling on them, they either have to turn around and deal with you, or they can make a decision to try to force the zone. And those are the awkward spots where you want to put the enemy. The other thing in terms of taking space, and this will be map dependent and your comfort in certain spots, but trying to take extra space in hitting certain timing windows. So if you wipe kind of around the mid, so your team wipes the enemy team, they're down. Usually you're probably not going to be able to make it past this line, just based off of the timings of how long it takes for the enemy team to respawn and then get back into position. But if you can get past this choke point and you can start moving to the left, or you can start moving to the right over here and take wide space here, it helps you and it helps your team. Like it makes everyone's life easier. And so so these timing windows are very important, which I'll go over the specific one from this game, which is where you were able to wipe the enemy around here. Like I think you get the pick on this person and wipe them. And then once you're in this spot, I would like to see you get past this choke point area. Again, there's this timing window for you to be able to get over on this side and hold this type of position a ledge higher. And you ended up trying to like paint for your special, which I can understand because you do end up getting good value out of the reef slider when the enemy team all kind of drops and are desperately looking to take back zone. So I'm totally good with the reef slider idea, but you could have built the special and had reef slider from up here as well as like you could have accomplished the same thing, but again, it's about giving yourself more options. And generally, you want to take space first, and then you can focus on painting. Again, all this is going to be circumstantial depending on the weapon, the actual in-game scenario. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but definitely as a frontliner, and especially if you like wipe the enemy team, try to take that space first. Yo, Zaya, hello, welcome in. Hope you're having a good weekend or start to your weekend. Hope all is going well. So that's the one thing when it comes to taking space. And the other part of taking space is let team focus the objective. There's a time and place for you to paint, but if your team is able to deal with these people in the zone and they're able to paint up the zone, even if it's, like 60% or, if you have control of the zone, but there's still a good amount of enemy paint in the zone, if your teammates are around it, you can kind of just assume that they're going to be the ones to paint it, and you should get back to your frontline duties. But I think you did way better on these things comparatively, but I think you can still work on that a little bit. A little bit more. The other thing is decisiveness. I don't know if I spelled this properly. It's also hard to see with the background, but I want you to be a little bit more decisive with your plays. I think the opening specifically is a very good example of this, where you end up having, and then you like paint over here, and then you like move over here, take space here, and then you look to roll forward, which I like the rolling forward, but you get kind of cold feet and then you move back and you kind of sit in this spot until the rest of the team starts collapsing on you. Blue headband. All right, I can find the blue headband. Thank you. Whereas when you're like how I want to see an opening is like you're immediately getting into mid and looking to roll around, or you're immediately going onto this left side and you're dropping down into this pit and looking for angles here. But whatever it is that you're thinking about, I want, especially for openings, I want you to think about it like before the game even starts. This game, I want to do this thing. And then as you get better, you can work on adapting it of, oh, they have a charger, so I probably don't want to go mid. And I'd rather, focus on this left side so I don't get sniped at the beginning of the match. And you can adapt as you get kind of through stuff. But I think giving yourself game plans and then being very decisive about those, like when you make a decision, you commit to it, will help you a ton in the long run. And again, similar to some of the other feedback I gave in the last review, things will get worse before they get better. You're going to commit to plays and they're going to be bad plays. And that's totally, that's all, part of the process. Exactly what you should be doing. You're going to feed, the results aren't going to be quite as nice. And that's totally fine, because over time you'll work on the decisions. You'll work, when you roll into the enemy team enough and you're taking these really high pressure fights, eventually you'll get more comfortable and you'll get better at navigating them, and it requires that exposure. So yeah, it's just like exposure to I'm just gonna call them Tetra plays. But basically moving forward and feeding is something that you would want to really focus on. And then the last thing, again, I'm not super keen on like builds and stuff, but QR very much complements what you need to do, which is be more aggressive and just commit to those aggressive plays. So that'll help quite a bit. There's few weapons that I like to mention builds because it actually matters, and Tetra's one of them. But you know, this is somewhat similar to the stuff that we said before. You know, in terms of going to the side and taking fights, I think you use the sides a lot better in this match. But because you're not fully committing, you're not having as easy of a time to isolate targets, because you know you're getting scared and you're not looking to, you know, be the first one to move forward. But that's, you know, that's your role as Tetra, and if you feed, it is what it is. You'll get better at it over time. Yeah, grinding Samurott, cool. If you need help finding builds, please, you know, feel free to ask. I can hit up my teammate X-Ray, who plays a lot of Tetras, and they can give you stuff to work with. There's also other competitive players, and I know Sindu.Inc. has a build section that you can look for a lot of common trends in the way that people do their builds and submit builds. All these builds aren't necessarily perfect by any means, but it should give you a pretty good idea of what those builds should be. You got your build from there? Okay, cool. So, all right, awesome. So, yeah, good stuff. I'm definitely interested in, you know, the taking space, being decisive, all of that is going to take you a lot of time. You know, it's going to take many months to like be able to really get confident with those decisions, but you know, you've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. So if you continue this path, you'll continue to climb, and I look forward to seeing your progress as you climb. So thank you for the review. Much appreciated. Okay, so we have a bit of a double header here. I believe they were submitting replay codes for a couple of different friends. So we'll work through the top and then we'll work through the other one. And we'll be in a good spot. I accidentally hit B. How's everyone's night going? Has anyone picked up the new Zelda yet? I'm not going to spoil or anything. I haven't played it myself, but I've been watching some people play, and it's been interesting seeing people tinker with the crafting and like putting stuff together. It gives me a lot of Banjo and Kazooie nuts and bolts vibe. The only thing with that is I'm not sure how prevalent or like how important that building is to the actual like main quest and like, you know, playing the game. Don't plan to buy it. I think that's fine. And yeah, no problem, Reese. No problem at all. I'll definitely get it, but I'm gonna wait for it to go on sale. I'm not in a rush, especially single player games. I'm not really in a rush to play. But I got really immersed and spent an entire month just non-stop playing the first Breath of the Wild, so I imagine. Actually, let's download the other code while we're here. That way we can kind of do it. Nice. I actually got the code correct. We love to see it. Oh yeah, back to the replay. So we're gonna start. And yeah, that last game, 10-2. Solid. So we have a range blaster game and we have a V shot. So we'll start with the range blaster. This was an open. And the other one's X Battle. Very cool. Anyways, let's get on to it. I don't think we've reviewed the blaster yet. I'd give you a code if I didn't lose mine. Sag. I know how that is. For this player, again, rules and general, flow of the match and my expectations for it. Again, I do it before every review because it's just so important. Before you get into the match, this is what you should be thinking about. You don't have to like verbally list all of them because you don't have enough time, but like this is what you should be thinking about when you see both comps, when you initially jump in, when you start swimming into mid. At that point, you kind of have to start playing the game. But yeah, it's definitely hard and it's a skill and it takes time. But it's definitely something you want to train yourself to get better at. Normally you'd wait for a discount, but you ended up doing the whole voucher thing. Oh, the voucher's smart. RDB, that's actually big brain. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I don't know what other game I'd get, but I think you can just get one at a time. Also, what's up, Trig? Hello, hello, hello. I know you're a massive, absolutely massive Zelda fan, so hope you're enjoying. Hope you're having a good time with whatever it is you're playing right now, whether you're playing more competitive Splat or some Sammys. Starting the road to X rank, nice, nice. Hey, I don't have a lot to do with points right now, so use the comment points or the whatever the channel points whenever you can. Lasts a year. Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That actually saved you a good amount. Yeah, it's definitely an option. Right now, I don't think I have a. I'm gonna wait a little bit for it, but I'm definitely excited to play it and get sucked into it. Yeah, let me know how it goes, Reese. Definitely, along the way, feel free to drop some codes and we'll celebrate your climb to X. I think you said you're B- right now, so I believe. Anyways, back to comp stuff. So we're this blaster, the range blaster. Our teammates, we have something that's somewhat frontline-ish, but definitely a support in the Zap. Tri-Strike is mid to backline, more likely the backline. And then the C-Jet is mid to backline. They're backliners, but when you have like double backliner like this, they're fortunately both these backliners are pretty flexible, so they can move up when they need to. Which is good. Your role as a blaster is to target certain choke points and certain ledges and certain areas that you suspect that the enemy team wants to be at any given moment, which is a constantly changing target. But we can go through a couple of examples. So when the tower's in mid and we're fighting for mid, you'll probably, you might be hovering in your choke area. You might be able to move to the left. There's a chance you could potentially go right. But your goal in this scenario is to catch the enemy team. And, with the range blaster, you have some extra range compared to a normal blaster. And if you can find people, so like if someone tries to use the tower as cover, then there's areas where you can sit and do chip, or like sit here and do some chip, or sit over here and do some chip. So that's one potential way, is that you can play pretty defensive in mid and still get good opportunities into mid. Or you start really shining as a blaster for like mid and this first checkpoint. It's like when tower's going here and a little bit as it starts approaching the second checkpoint, is this ledge. This ledge is massive for you. So there's a lot of times where, you know, and either you can go through it on the right side, or if there's an opportunity where you can just push up here, you can look to hit blaster shots over the sledge, and anyone that's potentially sitting there, which charger is a target that's going to be sitting on the sledge quite a bit. Heavy's another target that may potentially sit there. They probably won't sit there together depending on the rank because they want to spread out as much as they can. Oh, your top was B plus last season. I think you're going to crush it. I think if you keep climbing, you keep being, you know, very thoughtful with your gameplay, I think you crush it. Absolutely, Reese. So there's definitely going to be targets in those areas, but realistically, Charger's probably going to sit up here, and then Heavy might be. It's like Charger probably up here, Heavy probably over here. But so you're going to want to focus this ledge a lot, and just any of the other choke points. I'll clear it out. Common choke points when you're fighting for mid is this ledge. It can be like this area right here is another big choke point. If they drop, like this can be a potential area. If they're trying to flank, this might be an area. Same with this as another flank, but realistically it's going to be these kind of three areas are the main things that you're going to want to focus on. And then as your team moves forward and your team gets past and starts pushing into the enemy choke and going into their base, this is still going to be a big deal. Ledge to a certain degree is still also going to be a big deal. But this stage gets increasingly important, and you can potentially fight this stage area over here directly in front. But another good angle against the stage is this side over here, and you can shoot up and like through the grate. And a lot of times you can get good chip and catch people off guard using this left side. And then so like, you know, that's at that point as tower starts moving up into this spot. Once you get it to about this checkpoint, you're looking to potentially KO. And that's where you're going to look at like this grate and this choke, this whole, you know, like all this ledge is something that you need to account for. But you can be very effective because the enemy team doesn't have a lot of space to really move in these spots. So you know, once you start pushing the enemy team back, you can be very thoughtful with your positioning and try to catch the enemy team off guard. But as a blaster, it's really, really, really important to continuously, like, this is a common theme in Splatoon, but you want to be moving a lot, because once you get caught without paint, or once you get into a situation where you don't have you know, if you don't have paint or you're running out of ink, you might get stuck in these weird spots. So I think your team, the Zap definitely and the C-Jet a little bit, you'll have a good enough amount of paint in order to be able to kind of push in these scenarios. So the comp is a little sus, but it's not too bad. Yo, Celeste, hello, hello. Share with your friends. Yeah, we'll definitely go through both of them. And I'll have, so I'm still getting to the replays, because before I started doing it on my Discord, I just got replay codes and I got really disorganized. You're lurking. Nice, nice, nice. Thank you for the lurk. So I'm using the Discord to help me be more organized, but whenever I get around to uploading the VODs, so I'm going to condense all of the VODs into a YouTube video, and I'm also going to, like, I have a separate channel that I'm uploading all of my Twitch streams. So I'll link those in the thread so that you all can see that. So I'll get a post in there so that you're able to find your reviews. So yeah, no worries if you're not here live. Sometimes it can be helpful to be able to ask questions or get clarification and everything, but it's definitely not something that is expected or, you know, necessarily needed, but sometimes it can enhance the reviews, certainly. But definitely have a good night. Definitely get some sleep. It was a long week for a lot of us, so have a good night and thank you for the replays. The other thing that we didn't really talk about is Wavebreaker. I don't really have all of the tech, but there's some really interesting spots where you can throw a Wavebreaker on this map. Some really, really interesting spots. So over time, I may look to do potential guides and have like, my goal over time is to get playbooks created for getting value out of different specials on all the different maps. But it's a lot of work and I'm working on one for crabs because I play a lot of splash, but I don't really play a wave break special. But my teammate does, so maybe I can work on something over time. But that would be nice to kind of help people point to of, you know, where to throw wave breaks, because there's some really tricky spots that can make your wave breaks, you know, be in very effective areas. But I want to say using it behind a lot of these like pillars and stuff. Sometimes you can use it in other places, but there's some good spots, especially on this map, that I know that Sun's talked about, where you're able to hide them so they don't get broken easily, but are also, you know, they hit certain areas that you're looking for them to hit. You know, like there's a wave break that you can hit this top area that's really nice, and you know, getting a wave break somewhere, honestly, probably in like this type of area, or maybe you get it like here or something, and I think you can help fight for stage a little bit. So that's something you'll have to work on. Yo, what's up? Hi, welcome, 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 welcome. We'll get back into the match. So I love the decisiveness in this, the beginning of this match. Execution, maybe not, you know, ideal, but I love that we're going for an aggressive play. Super, super good. Because if we're able to push this before the enemy gets into position, then we can be very, very, very dangerous. First thing I notice here is, so I'm gonna go back a couple seconds. But when we push up to their choke point, it's like right here is perfect positioning. We know where they are, and they don't really know that we're here, and they don't really have a great angle for me. So this is a scenario where you can take your time. So I would have liked seeing the range blaster take their time and like look to get a clean shot on this person, which part of getting a clean shot is minimizing RNG, which means you do not want to jump in this type of scenario. This jump is either a bad habit or a potential panic, but I don't think it's really panic. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of jump shots, which there's a time and place, but I definitely wouldn't do it in this type of scenario. We can play very patient and focused. We took really aggressive space, and because we were so fast with it, we're in a really nice spot, and we really want to take as much advantage of it as we can. So I think going for this target's totally fine. Additionally, we can potentially look up the ledge and look at this heavy, but I'm imagining this shot's probably a little bit easier potentially, although this person's not moving, so I don't know. Either way's fine, but I like going for this. Going for the target straight ahead makes a lot of sense. But a couple things wrong. Part of it is the jump, and part of it is the how far we move forward. And we can see with this paint that we end up taking our first shot like here. And that puts us in a situation, especially when we like leave the ground and we get even higher up in the air. This heavy has options to shoot at us. So we want to, again, I think we could have just sat here, played it until we're comfortable, you know, get our crosshair nice and ready, lead a little bit of our shot on the wiper and just look for that clean play. But we took the position nice, and then we panicked when it came to the actually getting the shot off. And then we overextended our positioning, so we left ourselves open to a lot of different angles. But I love that opening. I think the engagement could have been a little bit slower and a little bit more careful, but I love that we take that early space. Oh yeah, I didn't look at their build. Okay, they're running Ninja Squid and 2 mains of intensify action. So this is definitely a scenario where I can see why they're more comfortable jumping, but if you don't need to jump, you shouldn't jump, you know? Like only jump when you have to jump. Because there's still gonna be more baked in like RNG when you're jumping. No matter how much intensify action you have. This is tough. Thanks, Turek. Nice. Okay. So I was waiting for them to get splatted, but they didn't necessarily get splatted. Do the smaller 3 abilities matter what order they're in? No. No, all of it, the order and everything is does not matter. The only thing that may potentially matter for a lot of the stats are that certain stats are less efficient the more you have of them. But for something like Tetra, because you play really, again, like one-dimensional and you want to feed quite a bit, stacking QR is like totally fine. It does become less efficient over time, I believe, but it's still worth getting a lot of it into your build. So yeah, this initial pick is great. In this type of scenario, I would probably look, especially since we have Ninja Squid, instead of sitting up here, like look to go out a little bit wider. I can understand with the threat of the hammer that we don't want to just, start moving forward because that's going to draw attention to us and we're not in a great spot. So this play is totally fine. But again, when we're looking at the context of this defense, the rest of our team, like our backliners, are going to want to sit up here. And because we have like this double backline here and here, we're going to want to look to potentially take space in other places. So when we do have an opportunity to move forward, I'd like for us to start taking more space, even if it's a little bit aggressive or a little bit greedy and we get put in tough spots. That's going to want to be our end goal. But we do get picks on some of them, which is nice. But at this point, I don't necessarily like us sitting back here. I think after the hammer threat's gone, we want to start looking to take this stage area. Because even if we draw attention toward us, then the rest of our teammates can safely get into these spots and help poke and help, chip them. And we can work together to start getting splats. But because we're reluctant to go down here, the enemy team only has to look in this box area. And they don't have to worry about any potential flanks. You could potentially drop out left, but that's way more of a commitment and way scarier for you. So there's an option going left, but I really want us to try to take this space over here on the right side on this stage before the enemy gets there. It opens up a lot more options for our team. Yeah, because like this vacuum gets a ton of value because they just point it in like our area. But we do have a lot of long range stuff to pressure out the enemy, which is good. And once we do get 2 down, I do like that we're looking to start pushing the enemy team. I like the aggressive mentality from this range blaster so far is really good. But again, we're doing a lot of jump shots, which we don't need to be doing. I understand we want to feel the value of intensify action, but still, if you don't need to jump, I wouldn't focus on jumping. Like that jump shot's fine because you have to drop from the ledge, but you can also just drop from the ledge without actually pressing the jump button. Because especially as a shooter player, whenever I drop from ledges and I want to be fast, and in this spot we want to be pretty fast because we want to try to push the charger when they're vulnerable. When you jump higher in the air, you slow yourself down and it takes you longer to get to where you're trying to go. But yeah, but that first shot's totally fine. There's no need for us to leave our feet here. We have a ton of paint to swim through in this whole area. Because like if we have the jump shot so we can move in a direction where there's enemy paint, then I can understand that. But in this spot, we have so much friendly paint. Just, again, take the time after you shoot your first shot, line up the crosshair on this person that can't move very well, and make sure that second shot after is very clean. What's hydrate? Hydrate is me drinking water so that I stay healthy. Because when I talk a lot, my mouth gets very dry. Which is why I have this big bottle. This is why everyone else has to remind me about it. People say point and choose the way to win. If they ever thought about point and suck, hey, in certain spots on Rainmaker, point and suck is totally valid. We've won plenty of matches through it. For 10 gamer points? Yeah. No, that hydrate means I drink water. People tell me to hydrate and I make sure that I'm drinking water. Which, thank you, Lucy. Because I think we get the pick on the charger if we don't jump there. Again, in this type of scenario, we're playing patient, waiting for the enemy to potentially make a mistake. And we're using the tower shield as a cover and a shield as it starts moving forward, which allows us to move forward. So this is awesome. He trinks when you're eating. Yeah, basically. Well said. So again, we lined up our shot on the person on tower and it was very clean. And again, I love the aggression. I love the continuation after getting splats. Once your team has an advantage, whether they're thinking about it or not, they don't really have a good frontliner. So they need to be a lot more aggressive than maybe in other roles with different comps. But they're playing their role in this comp very, very well. Yeah, all this is awesome. Wavebreaker, I don't think is necessary. I think we can hold it because realistically with the pick, like once they're jumping in and we got the pick on the charger, we're getting this first checkpoint for free. So I'd much rather us just take this stage area, hold this area, and then once tower gets past this first checkpoint and the tower starts going into their base, then I'm going to want to use Wavebreaker. Probably like, and again, I don't know the actual spots. You might be able to use it like right here. And maybe it hits up here, but you want to hit people that are on this ledge with the wave break because that's where they're going to mainly be fighting for. So definitely try your best to find a good spot for the wave break. Because I think you were in a strong enough position that you didn't necessarily need to do that. And I don't think you needed it for the paint or anything. So, but all around, really good play. We broke open the game and we have a chance to take lead. I don't like that they pushed back there, but they did get their cooler. I think their teammates should have thrown cooler forward, but that's not your it's their mistake and you just have to play around it. So I think it's fine to move back there. The shades on the emo, let's go. Yeah, and again, some of this is the problem with the rest of your team, where they should be taking positions because both of your backliners are currently sitting on tower. If one of your backliners was sitting on stage on this left side, then they can pressure this heavy so that they don't get an angle on you. Because I think the position that you take here, like sitting under this ledge is really good and it makes the enemy very stressed out and it's very uncomfortable for them. So I like this play, but a couple of things when you notice that the heavy does start swinging and goes wider, you want to get closer and closer to this ledge. Even if you compromised your shots on some of these people, the farther you back up, the easier time and the more angles that the heavy has to potentially splat you. So, and the same thing with jumping, is like it just makes it easier for this heavy to get the pick. But your teammates didn't push in time, so you were gonna have a hard time getting value out of that push anyways, but you definitely could have stayed alive a lot longer if you think about your positioning and try not to jump as much as you end up doing. Yeah. Now, getting to the ledge, this is awesome. Like, the continuation on a lot of these plays are really, really good. And a good, again, good identification that, okay, I get tacticaler and I'm ready to feed. We need that especially, but I like the patience overall to wait until we get tacticaler. But we push without it when there's opportunities to do so. But that whole sequence is really good. Playing around ledges and looking for good opportunities to take picks. We just need a little bit more pressure from the rest of our team, and that's part of the struggle with our current comp here, is that we really need one of these other weapons, especially the backliners. One of them needs to be a little bit more flexible and play a little bit farther, like more farther forward than they may be comfortable doing. Yo, thank you for the hydrate, Reese. Much appreciated. But I think at this point so far in the game, we're doing about as much as we can, but we're still taking way too many jump shots that we don't need to do. Some of the jump shots are okay, but some of them are unnecessary. That's unfortunate. But again, we're identifying that our teammates are, like, we have 2 teammates in this area, so we're looking to reposition and look for other angles, and also looking for aggressive angles. How do you submit a code on the server? In the VOD submission area, there's a new post. So if you hit new post, then it'll create a post for you. In the submission rules channel, there's a thing that says use this template for submissions, where if you can fill out some of the information with the replay code, the weapon that you played, with the type of match that it was, and some other information, that helps me. Like, I know who you are, Vapor, but it helps me get a better understanding of you know, where you're at and how I should focus my stuff. Thank you, Celestia. Welcome, Hecka. Hello. Yeah. We're doing a really good job taking, like, creative positions, and again, like, this blaster is hitting all the choke points that we mentioned at the beginning. Like, they're focusing this area, they're focusing this area, and they focus this ledge a lot. Like, they know where they need to be hidden, so I'm loving what I'm seeing. There's just a lot of jump shots. Can I stay submitting a code once a stream? So I would say it depends. I think so, to a certain degree. There are, if you feel like you have worked on fixing certain things and you're, not that you're at a loss of needing to improve, but if you are more, if you know that you're still working on it, then give yourself enough time to be able to work on it. But the other thing right now is that currently there's a low to reasonable bandwidth where, you know, like, we don't have like usually after a stream, there's maybe like 1, 2, in certain cases 3 or 4 extra codes that are ready for the next stream. And there's like a little bit of a backlog. And if there isn't a lot of backlog, I'm totally fine being a little bit more, what word am I looking for? A little bit more, like, I'm fine with more continuous reviews. If I get to the point where there's like a backlog of like 20 reviews and it's like, okay, we're going to need some time to like get through this, Maybe like, you know, don't do it every stream, but right now we're totally chilling. So try to use your discretion on that. Don't make me cry with too many review codes, but you know, if we look at the non-reviewed codes right now, like currently there might be a backlog of like 1 or 2 after this stream. So I'm hoping that it picks up. And as it starts picking up, I'd probably space them out a little bit. But right now, I think you're totally fine. But the biggest thing is that, you know, I want to, you know, if you submit a replay code every stream and then I end up giving like, you know, if it's just the same advice every time, then I don't know how productive that is for you. And I don't know how productive it is for everyone else. But, you know, at this point, I would say you're totally like, as long as you're grinding enough so that every stream there's more progress, I'm totally fine with it. Totally fine with it. I can always appreciate the enthusiasm when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Want to post a code? Yeah, I'm totally down. I don't know if you still have that one. I remember we played an SOS a while back and you popped off on E-liter, but that was a previous patch, so I don't think we still have the I don't think that code exists anymore. The game wouldn't take it, but that was a really sick game from your part. You were playing that game lights out. And again, maybe more jump shots than we need, but I do like that we're not always taking jump shots. Love chargers. I can definitely appreciate chargers. Yes, this range blaster is doing a phenomenal job of like taking all of the right, holding the right ledges that they need to be holding. Because now the enemy team is just stuck on this top tier and like basically stuck in their spawn, constantly moving. This is awesome. I was gonna say they can just jump into their team at this point, but their whole team went down, so better not to. Submitted yours, but you're gonna sleep. Yeah, I think we've anyone submitting now is probably gonna be a later stream, because I think we have a few reviews that we're going through for tonight. I got on a little bit late, so the stream's not gonna be quite as long. But I'm hoping to have a longer, like I'm hoping to be able to start streaming a little bit earlier tomorrow, so we can definitely continue to go through them. But yeah, anyone submitting them now, that's why I want them to be in the Discord. So I appreciate everyone, you know, kind of helping provide some structure for me. That way nothing gets lost. And those, you know, like I will get through everything. But yeah, no worries, Vapor. I gotcha. I think I'm getting close to getting a YouTube video for your gameplay in the Megalodon Cup. We're almost caught up. Almost. That was a really fun game. It is super fun watching your team play. Y'all need some more recognition so that, like, I don't know, you'll have like a very unique playstyle. It's super fun to watch. In time. Y'all are slowly aggregating the results, so I don't know if that's the right word. But you're collecting a bunch of results. You're there. Honestly, I feel like I don't know who on your team would be interested, but I feel like y'all could definitely look for like +3 submissions. I don't know how popular you are with the +3 crowd, but I definitely think the Megalodon Cup is like a lot of really nice wins. Anyways, so in this scenario, there's only 70 seconds left, so there isn't a lot of time, and we had a really big push. So, you know, as our teammate potentially goes down, our positioning is probably not going to want to be as aggressive. We still, like, when we're fighting for mid, we still want to hit the important chokes. But in terms of the risk involved to shoot at certain chokes, I would say getting shots over on this ramp and getting shots on this left side may be a little bit riskier than being able to get to this ledge, because you can take a lot of very safe routes to poke at this ledge. So I would probably focus my attention kind of toward here and wait for them to push into mid. And this is also a good part because we're slowing down a little bit, we can actually get some value out of our suction bomb with our kit. Oh yeah, new Zelda game. I can see that. None of us talk with the scene. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. There's like a handful of clicks, and if you're not in them, then yeah, you gotta find your way in. Holy, what just happened? Holy suction bomb. What did I just witness? Let me look at literally anyone else on their team to see what happened. Oh no. Holy, that's a really good bomb. Normally we don't get 3, but that bomb's super lit. The one thing I will say in this scenario though, I don't like us taking as an aggressive position as we are here when we're going for these shots. I think the position that we're holding now and just keeping an eye on this ledge is probably the most that we want to go for here. Because if we push forward here, we're leaving an opportunity for them to drop. And it also puts us, it kind of clusters us in this area, and it gives the enemy an opportunity to find a way to win with a minute left. And we want to negate any options for them to potentially win this game, like us bunching up. But ironically, your suction bomb punished them for bunching up. So that's super sick. Yeah, and then we get baited into looking at our into getting our wave breaker out, which we don't necessarily need to do. That suction bomb is sick. The positioning of it's really nice. And there's a lot of times where you'll probably get a straight pick in a lot of scenarios. No, it wasn't stuck on the tower. It was stuck. The suction bomb was like back here, and the tower was like moving forward. So the enemy team got pushed back into the suction bomb because they were like trying to take space on the tower. Honestly, whenever people do that, where they like, I'm sure you all have seen like those copy pastas and stuff of like, oh, if you read this, like you probably didn't notice the 2 ofs, and oh, you probably didn't notice this other mistake. And like, I never noticed those things. I read, was that stuck on the tower like perfectly? I'm so bad at actually reading things that are in front of me. Yep, and again, holding great ledge, and then we'll probably look to move forward. Ooh, nice. I still think we're taking a lot of jump shots that we don't necessarily need to do. I'd rather us get into stronger positions first. And if you need to jump, you can jump, but I think there's a lot of times where we don't necessarily need to do. Probably running on 3 hours of sleep. Us boomers gotta stick together. So yeah, this was a sick game. I think our aggression was very nice, and all of the positions that I talked about at the very beginning of the match, there was very common points where we were attacking these types of areas. Attacking this ledge, attacking this ledge, attacking this ledge, this ledge. Like this was very solid range blaster play. So I love to see that. Find a Megalodon upload on Sunday. Let's go. Wait, did any of your team go to LTC? Or no? I think y'all are going to Riptide, right? Or at least, I don't know, some people are. Oh, okay, cool. I feel like there's so many people going into LTC this weekend, which is super hype. So yeah, what do we want to fix? This is interesting. I don't know. The thing that I was hoping that we do, we accomplish, which is like being the aggressive and the offensive player. We really filled the gap of being like that frontline role, which isn't always the most comfortable thing for us to do as a range blaster. So I'm super hyped for the range blaster here. One thing I would say, just because I noticed it in a lot of spots, is just like jump shots. We had too many. limit. This is really small handwriting. Limit when needed. So only try to use them when you actually need them. Because there was a lot of times where we're just defaulting to jump shooting, and it's a very common thing that I think all of us do when we play this game. And, you know, with blasters especially, and you're doing your best with your build to limit the amount of RNG with the jump shots. But if you don't need to jump to get out of a weird spot with paint, or if you don't need the extra height or the extra distance from it, I would avoid using it altogether. And right now, I just think that there's like an autopilot of whether we're jumping or not. And I think more times than not, we've built this habit that I think at this point is getting close to being a bad habit of too many jump shots. But there were some times where we needed the jump shot and we did, and we got value out of it. So, you know, just be more thoughtful of those types of scenarios. And I think especially when we're at an advantage, we can kind of slow down a little bit. And this kind of relates back, but yeah, the slowing down. Slow down. That's a weird looking D. Slow down aim when easy shot is probably the best way to put it. I try to limit the amount that I write on the screen because my handwriting is really bad. So yeah, we want to slow down when we're in positions that are already strong. And this does not mean slow down like our movement. I think our aggression is fantastic. I think our aggression on the blaster is better than probably, you know, outside of like top 500 players that I see in my my games. Like this type of aggression is super solid. So we love to see that. But when we take, so like if we look at the opening, like we route this way and we end up sitting here, and this person doesn't really know that we're here, and this person doesn't really know, or at least they're not ready for us. And when we're sitting in this boxed area, we have time to slow down, you know, get your aim proper, give yourself time to mentally see, you know, wipers moving in this kind of direction so we can lead our shot properly, or oh, the heavy sitting in this spot and they're not moving, so this might be an easy pick. But really pick the high value target, because what we end up doing, and again, I'm not sure if it was panic or what, but we were in this box and we like jumped in the air while going for a shot, and we totally just like blew our opportunity for an otherwise really nice opening. And I think that's the theme when things went right for most of the games, but when things went wrong, usually it was because we took aggressive spots and we didn't, like we took the space and we did the hard part. And then once we had like an easy shot lined up, we struggled a little bit. Something else I was going to say, I would say it only really happened on defense, because I think for the most part, you did a really good job of, staying spread out from the rest of your team. So I'm going to say spread and take important positions. Oops. I can kind of talk through what that means. Important positions. The red does not look great on this. So in this type of scenario, this is like when we were playing defense, we were the first one to move in and the enemy was still basically in mid. They had like one person approaching this area, but we ended up sitting here for like the next 10 seconds because once the enemy team starts funneling in, then we lose out on our timing window. But we did have timing windows to take like this stage, and we can still use this for cover. We can still use, you know, the ledge and stuff for cover, and we have some space to maneuver. It will require team assistance in order to defend properly, but But I want us to try to take these types of spots. And again, this was specifically for defense. I think you very beautifully did this when you were pushing. And a lot of times, like, you took the perfect angles and like your team wasn't there fast enough to support you, which, you know, as you continue to improve, you'll play with teammates that will work with you better. But there's a couple of scenarios where I would have liked for you to hold those important positions. So in this spot, when we were stopping this checkpoint, we needed to be more aggressive with our positioning, but there was also a time left, or there was a time with about 70 seconds left or so, where we were holding this area and we were watching this ledge. Tower was about right here. So yeah, the objective was here and we were sitting here. And this is where we end up throwing that suction bomb and pop off. But we end up like moving really aggressive with the rest of our team. And we're all looking at this choke. And it's just a needless risk. Because when there's only a little bit of time left and we've already pushed it to like 8 points or something, like we can afford to be a little bit more selfish with our positioning. And, you know, we can sit behind, so move that. But like we can sit behind this little sign and just focus this ledge. And we can drop back if we need to. We can jump out if we need to. You know, we can throw suction bombs and still affect these areas. And if we want to move forward, so if we're sitting like, let's say we're sitting here, we can move forward if we want to get in range to throw that suction bomb. But once we throw that, we want to start moving back and getting into a more defensive position. And again, it just goes back to like spreading out when you have the opportunity, like when you have the opportunity to do so, which sometimes that is timing windows and sometimes that is point differentials. Or if you have a really good push, you have a lot more flexibility with how you play the game. And sometimes just like holding the lead. Also, thank you for the hydrate. When you have a lead, the worst thing that you can do is go like 3 down or wipe and allow the enemy team to start building momentum. Because especially on tower control, if the enemy team starts building momentum and you start wiping, they're going to start building specials and they'll have special advantage when they're pushing you. Is the one tough thing about playing defense on tower control is that special advantage goes to the team that is on the tower. So you're pushing with a special advantage. And that makes defense is hard in Splatoon, but it's like extra hard because of it. So again, it didn't like, there was no poor result here, but there may be poor results later. But overall, very, very, very good gameplay. Awesome stuff to see. The only blaster I really get to see is like Pro Chara. So I think they did Pro Chara very proud. Oh yeah, we didn't look at the stats, but they probably popped off. Yeah, 22 and 6. Very, very nice game. Moved into positions very, very well. Jeej. So true. Wasn't going to send a VOD today, but I played the game. I thought there were good improvements. Yeah, no. At this point, and especially since you're very active and you're asking questions and you're here for the live reviews and everything, I'm totally fine giving you those consistent reviews. But if I get to a point where, you know, where the dream is had and I've you know, quadrupled viewership and everyone's watching all my YouTube videos and there's a giant crowd of people and, you know, I can't meet the demand, because right now I'm pretty sure I can meet the demand of reviews. But if it ever gets to a point where I can't, then I would generally ask the rest of the rest of you know, people that are submitting views and everything to, or submitting the replay codes. Sorry, I'm like clicking through stuff. To slow down a little bit. But right now we're totally chill. Where I'm at the point where I'm asking and groveling, begging for codes. We don't get to it tonight. Yeah. So I would say I'm probably not going to get to it tonight, but I'll definitely get to it this weekend. There's a good chance that I stream tomorrow and I stream earlier, and all the codes that are getting posted tonight, I can definitely go through all those. But this might be the last one that I do for tonight. I don't know what the rotation is. I might play a little bit, but I might also just kind of snooze after. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we can definitely get to it tomorrow, and I can ping you for you to be here. If you have a specific time, you know, I can push you a little bit in front or a little bit behind to help fit whatever hours that you're looking for. So we got the flexibility. Oh yeah, I didn't go through anything. So we were playing VSHA here, and this is Rainmaker on this map, which is interesting map mode combination. But our comp is very solo queue-esque. I don't hate it. I think it's okay. A couple things that we want to look at, which for opening pop on this map specifically, Sploosh isn't quite as good because of the vertical nature and the way that we have to get to the first pop. But you know, Wiper very good at getting pop, Sploosh very good at getting pop. Us as a V-shot has a suction bomb, which is very good for getting pop. Dynamo's kind of jank, but it's okay. Then we look at the other team. Both of these, Wiper and Dapple's very good at getting pop. Flings is not very good, and 52 can get shots, but it has a wall, so it's probably not the greatest at getting pop. I would definitely give you all a little bit of a nod and a little bit of an advantage here. So I'd probably go for pop at the beginning here. And I think in general, we can probably get pop. But there are certain scenarios where, like, if one of your really good pop weapons are down, then you very quickly can lose the pop exchange. And you know, the dynamic will be time and place, and it'll be dependent on, you know, who's alive and who's there to help with the pop. But it's something to keep in mind. Any time works. Okay, cool. Thank you. So that's one thing I'm looking at. The other kind of part of this in terms of determining our role is kind of figuring out how the rest of our team wants to play. So our Sploosh is going to want to be, so I'll circle us because that's us. Our Sploosh is going to want to play very aggressive, and they're going to want to rat, which means they're going to want to be very stealthy and, you know, take these side angles and flank behind the enemy team, or like go for these types of angles and, you know, find opportunities to really pop off. And they have the big play potential, but you know, they're going to have a lot of aggression, and they're going to be able to distract the enemy in a lot of cases. So there's going to be a lot of times where we're going to want to kind of follow up, where we're the follow up on what the Sploosh is trying to accomplish. We can also follow up with what Wiper's trying to do, because they can hold down a lot of space, and we can look to push through that space and help clean up fights that they get themselves into. And then with Dynamo, you know, Dynamo potentially is looking to work with us as well as working with the rest of the team. But, you know, they're going to be a little bit farther back, and they're going to look for opportunities to hold down a lot of ledges. If they can get under certain spots, so if they can get like under here, they can do a pretty good job of like being aggressive around this ledge. Same thing if they're over in this area, which is a little bit more exposed. Although this thing's elevated, so they're going to have a hard time hitting that, but they can still push this TP. There's going to be certain spots, and also playing around stacks. They don't do a great job at it, but they can certainly apply pressure. And if there are multiple people that are kind of sitting in the same spot on the enemy team, Dynamo can get a ton of value. But we have a lot of chip, and overall, I would say our team's quite aggressive, which their team's quite aggressive as well. But we're going to want to look for opportunities. Our teammates are going to set us up for opportunities. So I would kind of consider us aggressive support role, where we don't have to be the first one to go in. We certainly can. If there's an opportunity where the enemy team gets wiped, we can totally move forward. But you know, when we're trying to figure out what we can do in any given moment, we can look toward our teammates to really force opportunities. And then enemy team, obviously missiles are going to be a pain. So we have to adjust our positioning accordingly and adjust our timings with how we move accordingly. And honestly, all these fights probably feel pretty awkward. Dapples isn't too bad, but like our fight with Wiper is not great. Our fight against a walled 52, not great. But we can provide a lot of support with our suction bombs and paint and, you know, the follow-up with more aggressive weapons that can deal with those better. So I would see us as more of a support role in this game, but if there's opportunities for us to move forward, either to help our teammates or to exploit a hole in the enemy defense, we can certainly, you know, look to push it. V-Shot can be self-sustaining like that. On this kind of map, the other thing, you know, normally Inkzooka is, you know, what people consider a lottery, but there's a lot of opportunities to get decent shots. Like this ledge over here, we can look to try Zuka anyone that's defending this. People up on this top left area, we can look to try Zuka them. We might be able to arch, it probably takes some practice, but people that are in this like attic area, we can look to hit. There's a lot of common ledges that we can predict enemy movement and actually get really good value out of the Trizuka on this map. Another common but often overlooked way to punish the enemy team is them going on this rail. Because the respawns are very awkward on this map mode, a lot of times when people want to move out of spawn, they're going to take this rail, and you know, that's a relatively predictive pattern for you to catch someone off guard with your Trizuka. If you're on right stack, like if we're holding this right stack, then we can use our main weapon in certain spots. We have the range to punish people that are toward the tail end of this rail. But yeah, if we slow down, and especially when we're in control, we can actually look for slightly less lottery, but still definitely a lottery Trizuka play. So that's what I'm seeing here. Okay. Good working with the rest of the team. Oh no. Oh no, this is tough. This is tough. Yeah, the Zuka's fantastic. Again, they have a very predictable goal in mind, where they're, you know, Rainmaker or someone holding left stack, they're really focused on this, and we're able to, you know, counter their idea with our Trizuka. So I love this Trizuka. Opening was a little bit interesting. I didn't look at our build. Okay, we're not running, because we're not running Object Shred, although no one's running Object Shred in this game. But because we're not running Object Shred, I'm okay with giving up the pop at the beginning. And if we're giving up pop, then, you know, we're using this to potentially zone someone over on the stack, which ends up getting us a pick, which is really cool. So I like the idea of the suction bomb, and I like that we move back because we're not using that suction bomb on the pop. But it looks like we're losing the pop, which again, with the unique way that you get to the Rainmaker at the beginning of the match, it's not as favorable for something like a sploosh. So this opening makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It is really minor. I don't necessarily love pointing out mechanics unless it's a consistent thing, but it's something I'll keep in mind with how this plays. But we're doing a lot of, like, this is just a whole lot of shooting and not trying to move at all. And we don't get punished here, but this is a really bad habit in the making if it's a continuous thing. But we'll track it throughout the game. But once we have our advantage, we look to start moving forward. This is awesome. And you can tell with the positioning that I think this V-Shot is in the same kind of mind space that I am, is that we're playing a little bit more of a support type of role here. So in this kind of spot, if we wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, we could totally look to take this box and jump over to the enemy's left side over here, just because the Rainmaker is positioned very much toward the enemy side of the map. So, you know, there isn't necessarily anything that keys us into like, oh, we definitely need to go for a flank here. But if we want to push the enemy team and really pressure them, this is a very valid way of us doing it. Time and place, and especially with Rainmaker pushed up this bunch and the enemy team coming off spawn, this is big play potential up here. Is pushing over here. It gives us a lot of flank options because realistically, most of the people are probably going to swing in this way and focus on Rainmaker pop. So that's a slight deviation in pathing that I actually really like, but You know, once 2 teammates go down, I'm totally fine backing up. When 3 go down, this is very tough. I would look for an opportunity to jump here, but there isn't really a great spot. We might be able to drop this way and jump, but we're able to make our way out, so it's totally fine. The only problem with pulling missiles as you're retreating in this situation is that you're painting them a path, but because the enemy team's already pushing forward, they're going to have that path regardless, so I think moving back there is totally fine. And again, love the Trizooka. Super, super lit. Focus on painting and supporting our team. I don't know if we saw the person that is flanking, because like this Flingza here is doing what I was trying to think with this play over here before when I was talking about looking for a flank. I don't know if we didn't notice them cross, because we definitely saw it from our perspective. I think at this point we're just, I think we missed it. But sometimes you can bait them. Like sometimes you can kind of play like you know that the Flings is there, but you're playing like you don't know, so that they actually try to drop on you and then you can punish them for it. That's some higher level counterplay, but from the way that we're positioning and kind of holding mid like this, I feel like we just missed them crossing. Again, yeah, I think we're going to be doing a lot of walking and shooting this game. It's definitely a bad habit, especially on a short range shooter, where mobility is our lifeline as a short range shooter. Again, I like moving back, even though they like get the pop. We give ourselves an option to potentially defend the first checkpoint, but when we figure out that it's not a good play, we move back and we try to isolate the wiper that moves forward. So all this is great. Yeah, I don't necessarily. Yeah, I feel like we pick up the Rainmaker and start moving forward without getting information. I can't tell if you're map checking or not because it's a replay, but I'm assuming that basically, unless you're like a super high level player, you're probably not checking the map all that much. Replay? Replay, you okay? Rainmaker's pop, my friend. Let's try that one again. It's always funny. The more replays that I watch, the more I see the game just break. Yeah, I'd be more focused painting in this scenario than trying to be sneaky on this left side. I know you're trying to get ink so you can keep throwing bombs, but you know, if you want to throw a single bomb, it's okay, but I would get a lot more paint in mid. Partially because you almost have a Trizooka ready and you can look for a swing play while your teammates are like trying to respawn in. The enemy team's going to be a little bit more prone to being more aggressive with their positioning, and you can get picks with the Trizooka. But the other thing is like you just need to paint. We've kind of found ourselves in a support role, and you do have other weapons that can paint, but we're in a position where we probably want to be painting a little bit more. This is very dangerous. Enemy team actually coordinating their specials pretty nicely. But we're able to get ourselves out of the bind. I don't like that there was no need for us to Zuka here. I think we had Zuka and we felt pressured to use it. But in this scenario, it's very clear that your team has a 2v1. Oh, I'm back too far, my bad. But like you see them jump and you see your wiper with you. We don't need to, like, we just help shoot them. This is a type of scenario where like we could potentially throw by using Zuka in this kind of scenario. Because like if the wiper didn't get the pick and then Dapples splats both of you, like your team just loses here. Also, thank you for the hydrate. Gotta stay fresh. Good luck, good luck. Thank you for the replays, and I think X rank is totally within your grasp. I think if you get a little bit more comfortable with your aggression and a little bit more, you know, just moving a lot more fluid, which that comes with time, it comes with reps. I can totally see you hitting X rank pretty fast, honestly. I think your play is in a really good spot, but definitely have a good night. Again, appreciate the replay codes and appreciate the support. And because we end up getting splatted with like our Trizuka in that scenario, like I feel like for most of this game, we've been desynced from the rest of our aggressive weapons that are trying to take more space. And we're not able to properly support them all the time. Yeah, I think we're panic specialing quite a bit. Panic specialing and panic not moving in between our shots. I feel the nervousness in this gameplay. Because we can save ourselves a lot of deaths in this match with that consistent movement. I think our ideas are pretty good, but our mechanics are needing some refinement. I don't mind this Trizuka as much because you're playing around with the hammer, but I feel like you were popping it regardless of the hammer, which in these types of spots, I want you to be painting more because your team needs you to paint. You like, in part of the solo queue experience is that throughout the game, you have to like understand the play patterns of your teammates and be able to adapt throughout the game. And 5 minutes is not a lot of time for you to be able to adapt. So it's definitely tough, and it's something that comes with a lot of experience and getting more repetition and really being thoughtful about it. But our sploosh and our wiper are constantly feeding, which is part of like their role to a certain degree. So like we need to make sure that we're being the responsible one. They're doing their offensive things, which, you know, I'm not reviewing their gameplay, so I don't know exactly like, you know, how they're playing all of these. Maybe not necessarily the best. I think they're feeding a little bit too fast in a lot of spots, but they're at least being very aggressive. And so we're trying to be a little bit more sharky, and we're also throwing a ton of suction bombs, which traditionally throwing suction bombs is like good. And we do have LDE, which I think kind of activates right now. I think it starts at 50 or something. So like we have a little bit of LDE for the rest of this game, but suction bombs still take up a ton of our tank. And I want a lot of our tank to be really focused on holding solid paint control. It makes it easier for the rest of your team. And, you know, it also kind of prevents you from getting pushed or getting, you know, caught off guard from these dapples that are playing aggressive. There's certain scenarios where the lack of paint is really affecting our ability to support the enemy or support our team, and we're getting pushed by the enemy. And like bombs are really good, but I've also fallen into the trap of throwing too many bombs. Yeah. And like we're trying to take space and be aggressive when we have teammates that are dedicating themselves to doing that. So I can feel, you know, the panic. There's 90 seconds left. We have to get the first checkpoint and we have to get points after. You know, you can feel the pressure in these types of scenarios, but we still need to understand our role. And once we wipe, like we're already having a hard enough time managing paint, but if we're the first one going down, our team's gonna get like chewed up super fast. I feel like I'm okay with us throwing bombs, but we're letting the enemy team get a ton of paint. And there are potential opportunities coming off spawn because we sit back here and like sit back here too and just throw a bunch of suction bombs in this choke point, which we are stopping the push. So it's not like a bad play, but because we're not taking these aggressive spots to paint, or we're not looking to push up here to paint, and you know, us sitting so far back means that our suction bombs can only go like here. But we can throw more suction bombs and continue to paint. and get the suction bombs a little bit deeper into areas where there may be, you know, you can catch the enemy team off guard. Because we have two teammates that are going to constantly feed into the enemy team. And I want to go back to it. The fact that we're not painting means that the entire rest of the map is covered in enemy paint. So this push that we have to make a minute left is extra hard because we have to deal with all of this. And you're going to have, like, the enemy team has shown, especially the Dapples and the Wiper a little bit, they've shown that they're like totally fine playing very, very aggressive. And they've coordinated their specials very well. So we really need to clear up this mid space. So we need to start being a little bit more risky with our positioning. So instead of sitting back here, I'd rather you take more forward positions. Or like up here and look for that opportunity to get the paint out. Wait, did I just miss a pop off? Oh wait, maybe I missed a pop off. Wait a minute, how'd they get wiped? Okay, our teammates are getting picks. Nice. Yeah. We're identifying really good spots to use our Trizukas. I'm loving it. Sometimes we're using it when we don't need to, but yeah, that's a position where using it's valid because there's a good prediction of where they're going to be. And we did that earlier in the game as well. Yeah, that's tough, and it's going to be basically impossible if we're not strafing between our shots. It's also really minor, but like these last couple of plays, again, these are things I don't love like being super nitpicky about, but I think these things to a certain degree are going to hinder the way that we're playing. But our camera is like more noticeably to the ground. It's actually, especially in the previous push, it's actually affecting the way that we're able to like see the map. Because like if we look, our aim is just like a little bit too low. It's a lot easier to see when we're throwing those suction bombs from before, which we're in a bad position, so we can't see too much anyways, but I don't know. I was noticing it there, but that was the only time that I've seen it. But like our camera is just like really low to the ground. So we just like, it's really hard to know what's going on over here. Like there's potential opportunities to see people flank on this right side that we're missing out on. And most of our screen is just focused on this. And I don't like pointing it out a ton, but like later in the game, there's been 2 plays that make this just extremely awkward from your perspective. It's really hard to navigate. So like in these spots, I would definitely look to keep our crosshair a little bit higher. I haven't seen it for most of the game, so I'm not sure why it's happening here. But, you know, as you play your games, this might be something that you want to think about. Which some of that is this map, like you spawn on high ground, so you kind of have to look down a little bit, but we're continually doing it throughout the rest of the setup. Yeah, this shooting and moving is not great. Okay, well, the whole thing broke, so I gotta reset it. Yo, what's up, Scene? Where they put replays? So if you're, thank you. So in the Discord, there is a VOD submissions area. And when you click into the VOD submissions channel, on the top right, if you're on mobile, I don't know where it is. On the top right on desktop, there is a blue button that says new post. And that's where you can put your VOD submissions. One thing I would ask if you can is there's a channel above that called submission rules. And there's a template for the submission. I'm actually going to put that as a separate message because I know sometimes when you copy and paste stuff from like on mobile specifically, it's hard to do when it's in the message. So I put the template as its own thing. So there's a template in the rules. And if you could copy and paste that and just fill in, it should be some pretty easy stuff just to give me some pointers and give a little bit more guidance. Because sometimes 5 minutes isn't a ton of time. To figure everything out, but yeah, if you could use that, just post it in the VOD submission area. I'm trying to archive a lot of these reviews, so filling that stuff in, even if it is redundant, it helps me a ton. It saves me a lot of time being able to copy and paste. But yeah, if you have any questions outside of that, please just let me know. But thank you for the Discord command, RDB. What do you go? Do you go by RDB, or how do you want me to refer to you as? I should have asked before, but I don't know. I can call you my guy. Whatever you're comfortable with. Please let me know. So yeah, our team's able to get picks, and like we're getting some good paint while moving forward. We're painting important stuff, so like we're chilling. Might be able to take lead here. Yeah, looks like we're probably gonna take lead. RDB, okay, cool. Yeah, I've definitely seen you, so you just never know. So it's kind of minor here, but because this is like a Rainmaker special thing, especially with suction bombs, but we're under 30 seconds, so our LDE is fully activated, and like right now we have basically a full tank. I would like us in Rainmaker, especially with suction bombs, because they take a really long time to pop. The timing takes practice, but you can throw a suction bomb where the pop is going to happen again. Like the Rainmaker shield's going to expand after the checkpoint animation goes through. And we can time it so that we throw a suction bomb ahead of time, and then we sit in ink for like a fraction of a second, and we get our second suction bomb because we have LDE activated, and we can throw another suction bomb on the tower or on the shield. As a suction bomb player, especially with LDE, you can combo 2 suction bombs, which in a lot of cases will almost immediately, like, this doesn't insta pop by yourself, but this plus any support from your team is going to insta pop the Rainmaker, and it can really speed up the push. It also can catch the enemy team off guard, and they might potentially get might die to that explosion, the Rainmaker shield explosion, because they're not expecting it to get exploded so fast. So it's one trick. It doesn't really matter as much in this spot, but it could have potentially mattered. So it's something I like to do, but I like that you move and stay safe. But I think we could optimize a little bit. No. And this is another spot where we can get the double pop. Yeah, we should already have thrown a suction bomb. And the nice thing of timing it that way is that, like, if we get those bombs down and we start shooting it a little bit, I could see. You ended up submitting. Yep, I see it. Thank you so much. Much appreciated, my friend. Because I can see, like, in that little moment, you thought that the pop was about to happen, and so you were like preemptive, trying to swim and pick up the Rainmaker as fast as possible, because you don't have to move the Rainmaker that much. Like, going from 52 to 43 is like a jump, basically. So I like this idea where we like want to start swimming, because we're assuming that the wiper is going to help pop and everything, but we have suction bombs that we're not using that can help enable this. But again, I like the ideas, but we end up slowing down a ton because we're not using our suction bombs. And if we're not going to use suction bomb up here, at least we can use suction bomb like where this person's like shooting, and like back them up so that they can't shoot at you once you pick up the Rainmaker, and they can't shoot where you need to jump, so that you can actually get momentum with your jump after you pick up the Rainmaker. So again, I love the idea, but we're just a little bit, I don't think we used our resources as well as we could have. That was a really good game. That was a super intense game. Half the things you wanted me to answer, I couldn't remember. You're totally fine. Do the best that you can. I'm more than happy because right now I'm trying to fill out all of those myself. So, you know, if anyone fills out any of those pieces of the form, it makes my life easier. Some of that information I can't get. Like if you have any questions and you're not here, then I can't pinpoint specific things you may have questions about. The other thing is, you know, it saves me a bunch of time. So if you can't do it, it's not the end of the world. But if you are able to, it helps me a ton. Oh yeah, sorry, we're not rewatching. We're getting to the blink space. Okay, okay. My brain is half functioning currently. Yeah, overall, it was very good gameplay. I liked a lot of the mentality. I think your mentality and your choices of the way you play are very nice. I hate doing this because it's never like the most fun thing, but we really need to work on our mechanics. Our mechanics are not holding us back, but our life is a lot harder than it needs to be. And a lot of times I watch players, and I think you're already like an X rank, so that's, I think now is a responsible time to start looking at their mechanics. But you know, if someone's like brand new to the game and stuff, it's not the most important thing to learn these things, and like really getting into the decision making and understanding the thought process behind stuff is important. But I think a lot of your thoughts in this game are very solid, and I think a lot of your understanding of what you need to be doing in this match is solid. And I think there are a lot of situations where your mechanics are kind of holding you back a little bit. So I'll just list a couple of them. You do a lot of run and shoot, and you want to move between shots. So move between shooting. And this is effectively just like, it's a combination of main strafing and sub strafing. And if you look up, you know, Splatoon main strafe, you'll see your favorite content creators, you know, Squid School, Prochara, Dude, anyone that has a high following has done a video on it. Sendu, I think, has a nice video, I think, about some of that stuff. But, you know, if you're not familiar with it, or if you want to get more comfortable, just, you know, sit in either recon mode. You can sit in the training room, but sometimes it helps in recon mode because there's a lot of, especially on Mako Mart, there's a lot of really awkward objects that have weird geometries that you need to get more comfortable with. Not you as a player, but just like in general. So a lot of times when I'm trying to work on my mechanics, I'll actually go into recon mode and choose a specific map, because being able to like consistently, you know, move over ledges with a lot of speed and everything can be tough. But the running and shooting is pretty tough. We need to just be more mobile in general. And there's a lot of spots where that's causing us a lot of grief. Something else with mechanics. It's not a big thing, but I can't remember. There's another one I wanted to go through, but I can't remember it. Hopefully it comes back. But your camera movement, it wasn't a problem for like 80% of the game. It's only, it was only that last part. So I wouldn't really worry about this too much, but I just wanted to mention it because it was something just in that line. But the running and shooting is going to be kind of tough. But when it comes to like decision making, there were a couple of use cases. I think I'm just gonna say panic / nerves. And one of them was with your Trizuka. So special use. This game you had really, really, really good Trizukas. Like you use one back here. I think it was like technically like back here, and then you get the double. Awesome. They use one in mid and like hit, I think, 2 of them. But there was like 2 or 3 times where your Trizukas were very, very good. But there was also times where they were very, very bad. And the common theme when they were bad is when you were playing on defense and the enemy team was pushing at you. And you feel like you didn't, I think you felt uncomfortable and it's like, I need to use my special. But Trizuka isn't a special where you need to get it out before you get splatted kind of thing. It's not like missiles, where like missiles are basically always good. And as you know, it's better. It's important to get them out before you get splatted, but Trizuka is not in that kind of scenario, I would say. Sorry. I don't know the rules about viewers during this. Am I allowed to add on to the advice you're giving? Yeah, feel free to backseat. So in general, when it comes to providing advice and stuff, again, this is a pretty small community currently. So like, you know, I'm slow at reading certain comments, but if y'all have anything, please let me know. Whether that is, you know, adding on to what I'm saying and providing a better explanation, or, you know, if I miss something, expanding on those ideas. And if you want to challenge my ideas, I'm totally here for it. We've seen a good variety of weapon use in some of these reviews. And, you know, I'm not a charger player. I'm not a blaster player. So if there's certain scenarios where, you know, you feel like you challenge what my thinking is, I'm more than happy to hear it. You know, I don't have like an ego, so there'll be plenty of times where y'all recommend something else. I'm like, yeah, no, that's probably way better. Or, you know, I know that you're a way better charger or something is, you know, I can respect a lot of your decisions. Yeah, you're definitely the better charger for sure. The flank round stacks with a very narrow column. Were you talking about this thing? Or no, you're talking about this probably. Where's the paint thing? Probably this thing, right? Or are you talking about something else? Ever playing Salmon Run for fun? I find it's a good place to practice strafing and ledge canceling. True. Yeah. Yeah, Salmon Run's a nice low stakes environment. Well, depending on the seriousness. Oh, the first block? Okay, cool. So this thing over here. But yeah, there was a lot of spots where I felt you were nervous and you would pop specials when you didn't need to. Yeah, the awareness is a little slow in certain spots for sure. There was a time where we saw the Flingza just kind of cross onto your side of the map, and again, I feel like some of that comes back to the panic. But yeah, let me read through the rest of this. Reacting with your team is very important. When you're on left block, your team got into a fight on the right, it would have been good to react sooner. Yeah, no, that's a good point as well. Yeah, we established early on that we're kind of following up for our splooshes and we're following up for our wipers, and they played super aggressive. So we need to try to do our best to match the speed. So yeah, no, that's a very good assessment of a lot of this, is not being able to react in time. So yeah, let's put this last column of awareness. Some of this is more general, like missing people that are moving into directions and moving, you know, missing things on your screen, which some of that could be panic and tunnel and all that other fun stuff, tunnel visioning. But yeah, the other thing is, you know, moving with your team. I really like that, because that's definitely something I noticed. And in certain cases, because yeah, there was this play over here, and I think we were on left stack and we were kind of slow to maneuver. But there's definitely other scenarios. And depending on your comp, you may have more time to react to stuff, but our frontliners were giga feeding, so we want to make sure that we're trying our best to give them value. Some of this also happened where you reacted slower because we tried to be aggressive ourselves and we weren't helping manage the paint. And you were kind of pigeonholed into having to do a lot of painting around the map. And any time where you took a risk and got splatted pretty quickly, your team just completely lost out on paint, and it makes it a lot harder for you to be able to like move around the map. No, you're good. I too type in text walls, so I'm with you. If you throw suction bomb so the lip peeks out and someone's taking that route, it'll get them. Yeah, no, that's a good point. On any ledge, yeah, if the suction bomb, and when you put your cursor on it, you'll be able to see it. But yeah, half of it will be hanging off of the ledge, and there's definitely good opportunities to catch people off if they're hiding behind certain cover, or to make it really awkward for them. You can use it on the flat surfaces. Like you can use it on the top down view, but you can also use it on like the more flat surfaces kind of stuff. Yeah, this is good stuff. But yeah, just general notice like enemy in certain spots, but a lot of the noticing of the enemy goes back to I think it was the nerves in certain spots where you were pressured and your team didn't have a lead and time was ticking, and you either felt like you had the force of play or you felt the pressure of being in a tough spot. So all of that kind of correlates together. When it comes to nerves and everything, like part of it is just exposure. Someone explained nerves as because it is a very natural thing, but it's a feeling that as you get better, you're gonna miss. So like try your best to enjoy the feeling of those nerves when you can. Because that's definitely something that I've noticed is like, you know, there's definitely solo queue games where I get very nervous. And there's definitely tournament sets that I get very nervous, but it doesn't happen nearly as much as you get more comfortable and as you play more matches. And I do kind of miss the feeling sometimes of back in Splatoon 2 when I first started playing Splatoon competitively, like we'd have scrims like during the week and it felt like a tournament for me. Like I was like mentally preparing. I was just so ready for it. Getting wins felt very satisfying, and that's part of the process of improving as a player. And when you've been there, done that enough times, it's like it takes certain setups for you to feel those nerves. You know, like playing top teams or just, you know, being super far in a tournament. So definitely, you know, understand that it's a natural part of improving, but yeah, keep playing, keep grinding. I believe. Can you unpause for a second? Yeah. How far are we unpausing? Or do you want me to just let it run? I guess we can let it run while I talk through. One of my favorite tips is you gotta remember it's a game. Even if something goes wrong, it's still okay. Just take it easy and enjoy the game. Play your best. Totally, totally. Yeah, a lot of times we put too much pressure on ourselves as competitors in any kind of environment. It also helps me to just understand that losing helps us improve, and getting in reps helps us improve. And like, it's very humanistic to feel bad if we like lose points in like a ranked environment and everything, but it is all part of the process at the end of the day. And you know, maybe you get to 2200 in X rank and it's a very, you know, it's like, oh, I hit 2200, it's this nice round number, and you don't want to play and you're like, you're more risk adverse just because that's how we are as humans. You know, we're scared to make mistakes, we're scared to potentially lose, and we're focusing on our rank and no longer focusing on the gameplay. But that's the other thing where exposure helps, because the first time that you hit like your peak in points and then you lose like 100 points after because you're nervous because you're like trying to play for a new high rank, you know, the more times you can throw yourself in those scenarios, the easier it'll get over time. The more mistakes you make in a game, the more mistakes you can try to not make. Very well said. Very, very well said. If you look at the Dynamo, they're not playing well right off the bat. So you could go support them by splitting off so your team instead has one 3v2 and a 1v2. You can just have two 2v2s. Dynamo's away from their set team. Yeah. Usually in solo queue, and it just kind of depends, but if I can find the groove with anyone on the team, like if I can make any sort of like we're working together, then I'm super, you know, I'm more fine to like focus on that connection. So if you do find the connection with the Dynamo, because the Dynamo definitely felt a little bit out of place in a lot of scenarios. Not that they played bad or anything, but you know, it's going to be especially hard for them when they don't have a lot of paint and when the rest of their team's feeding. We weren't able to hold control in a lot of spots, which like Dynamo needs control in order to like be able to do stuff. So yeah, we can definitely support the Dynamo a little bit more, and part of that is through painting, and part of it is, you know, working with them so that they can move around. But you know, just trying to find a connection in the game, and you know, that's part of the tough nature of a support and playing in the support role, is that you're bridging the gap between your front line. You bridge the gap between the front line and the back line, and it's not always an easy thing to do, but painting always helps. Thank you so much, Barry. Also, what's up, Golden Eggs and A? Hello. How were the games? I was lurking a little bit before I started streaming, and Splat Zones is tough, but I hope all is well. Hopefully you've been enjoying Splatoon 3. I don't know if you plan on getting the new Zelda game, but if so, enjoy. How's the coaching going? It's been fun. It's always a nice, interesting, it's interesting getting different people's perspectives. And one thing with getting like codes from like just anyone is that you end up looking at a lot of different weapons that either you don't play or you don't see get played a lot. So it's always fun. I've gotten a couple of Squiffer reviews, and I've been able to like learn. Like it's always fun learning tech from other people. So like I'm learning off of everyone else. Is a good time. Finishing up Breath of the Wild. Oh, I see. Nice. I haven't played Breath of the Wild since like the very beginning of the Switch. I remember sitting in my bed and just having two Joy-Con and like not having to have my hands close together. They were just like really spread apart. And I was just like laying in bed. It was the most comfy experience of all time. Also, Azor Galina. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Please correct me otherwise. But thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate it. Sorry, I'm not interested in Play Machine. So I will say there's a lot of frustrating stigmas from especially the competitive community. We're very cringy in this nature, but no weapon is like uninteresting or boring or whatever. I mean, part of that, maybe I'm saying that because I'm coping and I play Splash, but there's so like understanding how to use your tools in your weapon. Yes, something like Splash, something like Machine is very straightforward, but understanding how to use those resources in every single scenario that you come across and being able to adapt to every single situation takes a lot of time and takes a lot of experience and takes a lot of like smarts. And it's always silly because no matter what weapon you play, like yes, Ballpoint has like a lot of interesting parts to its actual weapon. But for me, it's like weapons are a vessel to playing the game. And at the end of the day, like playing the game is the most interesting part. So if you want to play a complicated weapon, you know, if it's something that you enjoy, then obviously go ahead. But if you play a complicated weapon, it's just like there's more hurdles that you have to cross in order to learn the game, basically. But there is good, like there's a lot of value in getting different perspectives from different weapon types. But, and obviously whatever you find most fun or whatever you're most successful with, however you want to enjoy the game is how you want to enjoy the game. But it's always weird seeing people talk about like 52 or talk about Splash or talk about Machine. And it's just like, you still have to play the game. Do we criticize like, you know, Melon, or do we criticize Kuro Kuro for playing Splash Neo or V Splash? Like, yes, they've shown that they can play other weapons, but you know, the top players in our game play very basic, uninteresting weapon. I don't know. I could go on a tangent, but either way. Sorry, let me catch up with stuff. Yo, what's up, Sully? Hello, hello, hello. And thank you for giving Barry a shout out. Yeah, if you don't follow Barry, Barry is you all should. Barry's a very strong charger player and backline player. Honestly, I honestly miss. I only miss what is it even called? The inkjet? Is what is I'm trying to think of the special in Splatoon 2. The laser beam. Yeah, it's called, wait, is it inkjet? I don't even remember. Oh, inkjet's the jetpack. What was the global beam that you could shoot back in Splatoon 2? Stingray. So I don't know why I couldn't find it. Watching Barry Stingray was like my first experience getting onto Twitch and watching competitive players. I remember going into Barry's stream. I don't remember if you're playing Charger or Jet at the time, but I just remember watching you in like Rainmaker matches on like Piranha Pit, and you're constantly like flipping through your mini map, hitting people in spots that I have no idea where they're at. And I'm just like, this is awesome. Yeah, Barry's technical skills super awesome. Barry's chat itself is a very chill environment, which is always a nice cozy experience for me. And Barry as well has a very like level head and is very rational with the way that they think about the game, the way that they treat everyone else in the game. It's Barry's an awesome part of the community. So if you don't follow them, you should do that. You really should do that. Team up as you don't play is always tricky. It's a nice challenge. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I assume you'll get a lot of Machine and Splash. I have not really gotten much Machine and Splash. I've done some reviews for like my teammates, and like we play Machine and Splash, so I've done that. But in terms of like anyone in the community providing codes, honestly, I think we might have seen a Machine, but I don't think we've seen any Machine in Splash. I'm gonna be honest. It's not a lot. No weapons uninteresting or boring except Squeezer. Squeezer is in an almost awesome position in this game right now, but it's still very strong. Wish I could play 10 this game. There are some good 10 players, but I haven't seen it push enough, so I'm not sure. I always thought 10 was an interesting weapon back when I started playing Splatoon 2. Every weapon can be played interestingly and differently. Yeah, true, true. That's the other nice thing about something like Splash, is because it's not gear dependent. You can really focus in on like, the burst bomb part of the build, or the movement speed part of the build, or the special charge part of the build. It's very versatile, or like a mixture. And that's like really neat. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of weapons that are pretty stuck in the type of gear that they need to run. Because I think having the variety, like having a main weapon and a kit that's strong enough to be able to experiment and explore different builds is actually really neat. It's a nice part of the V-Splash kit that I've really enjoyed in this game. Except Chargers, except for me, the map needs to be fixed. Nah, Chargers are chill. We love Chargers. We love all of our Charger players. Yeah, thank you, Stingray. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word Stingray. I have a judge against Chargers. Yeah, Hydra's in a tough spot. I remember seeing Hydra's kit at the beginning of Splatoon 3. I'm like, oh man, this thing's gonna make waves, but didn't necessarily happen. Yo, Tim, welcome in, welcome in. Alright, emotes, we love to see it. Bullkelp, hello, hello, welcome in. You have to leave early? No, you're good. School got you tired. Yeah, end of the week, we're chilling. We're almost through this replay, and I might be calling it sooner rather than later because I have a busy day of some tournaments and scrims and VOD reviews within our own team, so there's might be a lot of stuff going on. Kind words always, always. We gotta support our staples in the community that are that make a very positive impact and make this community very welcoming, which I can say confidently because that's part of my experience getting into the competitive community. Wish I got the hang of right before 3 came out. I was always just shoot them with a main weapon. That's fair. I was intimidated to play backline because Ray just seemed like a lot. I was so new in learning the game. I'm like, this is too much, but it's really fun to watch. Tough to play against, but super, super sick. It may be possible, but I only play with no backline. Right now your team has a charger. Gotcha. Yeah. Wait, are you on Stargaze? Or what team? I always forget. My brain remembers and forgets things all the time. Hydra making waves, that's heavy with the wave breaker. True, true. You caught me, Tim. You caught me. Oh, that kit was so awesome. I'm like, Booyah Bomb, this thing is gonna go crazy. And then we saw the machine kit. Okay, never mind. There's another Booyah Bomb weapon. Do you have a tournament schedule where they'll be streamed if they're being streamed? Do you mean like a schedule for me or a schedule in general? Because for me, I'm hit or miss with some tournaments. Sometimes I like streaming them, and sometimes sometimes they can serve as a bit of a distraction. And I really want to be able to dial in with the rest of the team without any sort of distractions. But I do want to stream them a little bit more often. I need to work with the events calendar in my Discord. I'm trying to get back onto a schedule myself, so that'll probably help me stay accountable. It's Crimson, they're not against me. Sag. I'm definitely down the scrim. Yeah, Stargaze, okay, gotcha. What to say, I know the shooting star in your name, so I'm assuming that was where it's from. All right. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's basically goes through this game. But I think VShot played really, really well in this match. But as with getting better at this game as a whole, like Splatoon can be, oh, that's a really big P. Splatoon can be summarized as a game of pace. And as competitive players, we're constantly looking to increase our pace as players. We want to be able to move faster. We want to take positions faster. We want to save frames every time. Like, you don't want to think about this when you're first learning the game, because like there's way more important decisions. But like at a very top level, if you watch players that have really good movement, so like a Kiver, for example, in the West, has some of the best movement on a shooter player that's probably in the entire in all of Splatoon, but definitely in the West. It's like every ledge that they go over is usually pretty optimal. Like the height that they do when they jump is usually like just enough. And just like that level of consistency is always super, super, super impressive. It's probably looking to cut it short, but let's do one more replay. And if anyone's interested in submitting a replay, it's totally free and it's totally accessible to anyone. All I ask is that you join the Discord, because there is a channel for VOD submissions, and you can click new post and put in a new post. You put your replay code. There's a little bit of a template, so if you can fill in some other stuff, that makes my life easier. But if you don't, it's totally okay as well. So yeah, we'll let's look. We're gonna get through everything in the VOD replay, but we have not done a review for RDB yet. So let's give first time reviews some precedence. Although there's a couple of first times, which is very exciting for me. So we'll get through everything. We're gonna do a lot more reviews tomorrow. So anything that's in the queue right now will definitely get its proper review tomorrow. But let's get into it. And based off of what I'm reading, it looks like there is this gameplay is SOS, which if for those of you that may not know the competitive landscape, SOS is a generally weekly tournament every Wednesday. They stream the tournament with very good quality and commentators. And yeah, usually like very solid competition, I would say. So you can compete, anyone is open to compete in it, but it's a tournament that fills up pretty fast, and most weeks they hit their cap of 64 teams, which is pretty crazy if you think about it on a week-to-week basis. But you know, anyone's welcome to participate, but if you just want to watch, there's a lot of fun gameplay and good moments to be had. So yeah, this was a review from that latest tournament, I believe. Great White first set. I see. Okay. Wait, I just typed it in. Sorry, I'm like, sometimes when I start reading stuff and start doing multiple things, it's tough. But yeah, Great White typically get out first round. That's where we're starting to hit on our end. So I totally feel it, and it looks like y'all are playing against Silly Kitties, so not an easy matchup. I actually have not seen their new roster play, but I've played with or against a lot of them, so very, very solid team. So it should be a good matchup. The thing you've been thinking about is how or where to play so you don't die and be able to stop enemies from just pushing you back. Yeah, that was one thing when playing against Silly Kitties, although the roster's changed a little bit since then, but they play very, very aggressive. It's tough. Holding space is really tough against these players. I feel like you need to be too aggressive and die for it, or be too passive and let them take space for free. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Some subs of QR. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the build guy. So I would probably run more ink management or movement speed of some sort, whether it be swim speed or run speed over QR. But I know that stylistically, from the times that I've seen you all play and the times that I've played against you all, y'all play quite aggressive, I think, as a whole. So, you know, if you feel like it synergizes with the way that your team plays with some QR, then you know, I think is definitely worth experimenting with and exploring with. But I've never been a fan of only running like a little bit of QR, but that's not for me to tell you not to do that, because I'm not the type of person to do that. So this is an environment that's different than like solo queue. This is a tournament, so I'm assuming both teams have voice comms. Both teams have a good amount of practice with the people that they're playing with, especially since both of these teams are established. They're both around like Div 4, Div 3 level, very, very solid players, which is like mid-level, very, very solid mid-level. Always a tough matchup, and always prone to having some big upsets if you ever keep an eye on tournament results. So if we start looking at both team comps, it's actually really interesting. There's a lot of similarities with the two comps. Also, this is Clams on Inkblot, which I need to keep into perspective, but you'll have a lot of your, both of your frontline aggression is, like, you don't have like a super dedicated frontline. They kind of have a wiper, but like you have ways for Glugas to take space with walls, and you have a lot of potent ability with getting under ledges and everything. But I think your team comp is like relatively solid, and I think you'll have a good amount of like solid specials to be able to push with. And I think when you're able to get into the enemy base, you can really start threatening them. But, you know, for something like Glugas, I'm going to want them to, you know, play more in open space, these short range shooters doing short range shooter things, and, you know, using the objects around the map and paint to play pretty stealthily and try to take close quarter fights. And then you as a machine, you can also, you know, hit shots over ledges very well. You can hit over these ledges. It's really being able to capitalize on the space that the rest of your team's able to create. I do think this wiper may be potentially problematic. VDS potentially could be a little bit problematic, but both teams have pretty solid comps. But they have the ability to be very aggressive with taking space. And if your team isn't ready to play together, and the wiper is able to isolate your team, then you may all start falling into some trouble. Yo, Tentacome, hello. A teacher, somewhat. We tried to we're all trying to improve at this funny Squid Game. But speaking of player of funny Squid Game, Tentacome, another streamer, very, very awesome. They play a lot of Splatoon. They play some other games. They are an artist, singer. They do it all. Very fun, high energy, a lot of fun stream. So if you're looking for some other streamers, definitely give Tentacome a check and a follow, and all of the other algorithm happy things. So yeah, welcome in. Ready to get torn apart because you make a lot of mistakes. You have a pure shirt that you'd like to switch in? Gotcha. I mean, hey, don't have me tell you yes or no, because I'm not gonna have that answer for you. My instinct tells me it's not great, but I could totally be wrong. The reason, like, it's not that it's not great. I just feel like with the nerfs that machines had, it feels like there's always other things I would rather be running instead. But again, your team has the ability to be very aggressive, so I can see it working, especially with the way that your team plays. Want to learn to get better at Splatoon? Hey, you've come to the right place. If you want to submit a review, you're more than welcome to. Might get delayed answers on questions. Nah, you're totally fine. I'm also just delayed with the way that I talk through stuff. Nice pick on the overextending VDS. Nice. Yeah, you should be able to bully the splash in this kind of scenario. Y'all yeah, y'all took a really long time to clean this up. This is tough. This is tough. Because as a splash player, like, you do have burst bombs to hold space a little bit. I'm not sure if you're scared of them popping crab, but if they pop crab, like, you're chilling. You can always like look to drop back off of the plot. But even if they pop crab in front of you, you should be able to destroy it with your main weapon. So I think you should take space a little bit faster in this kind of scenario. Like, this little hesitation and like backing up here just like slows down like what you all are trying to accomplish. And you need to just like, this person needs to get to go as fast as possible. I think it's okay. You all should be able to win this 2v1 100% of the time without getting splatted, just because both of your weapons deal with it really well. But I would much rather you all focus on speed in this kind of scenario. And if one of you ends up trading, it's like whatever, but you need to like take up this space as fast as possible. And even if you play it fast, this splash is going to have a really, really, really tough time. Just because I hate, as I play Splash, I hate every matchup, especially against machines and especially against like Lugo Wall. But because you're sitting over here so much, you allow this isolated play, and then this whole play goes bad. Unfortunately, you're unable to get the picks, and like, yeah, at this point, the window of being able to score is completely just closed. So I don't know how your other. I'm actually interested in how this is mainly going to be from your perspective, but there's going to be certain times where it's, especially since this is a more organized fashion, it's good to get the perspective from your entire team. Oh, your teammate jumped in. They're playing very aggressive. They got the pick though. How'd they go down? Yeah, they got themselves into trouble. I like this aggressive positioning, but I don't think that there was no support for the rest of it, so I don't know. I think they could maybe either look to jump out or keep kind of painting and everything. But just sitting here while the enemy's throwing a bunch of paint everywhere, things get very uncomfortable. And again, it's just like a timing window issue where the rest of your team's not getting in time, so they have to like find ways to survive for longer periods of time. But all in all, not too bad. I also don't know how your teammate took a fight on the bottom part. We'll get back to your perspective in a second, but like, as we can tell, like there's a lot of like solo plays happening, and I'm wondering if they're advantageous or preventable. Yeah, like this is a bit of a feed. We either get a wall down or like we're chilling, but yeah. I don't think we give up space in this kind of scenario. I don't like dropping down for the clam pod. I think we got beated by the clam pod here. Because like holding this area is okay, but Gloogas is very much a setup, you know, kind of weapon where you want to get the wall down and hold an area. So like initially they were up here. I'm fine chilling here, and then when you suspect someone to be there, you can throw a wall down and like look to play the range battle. But yeah, they just like they kept themselves super exposed. They guessed and they guessed wrong. I'm guessing that's nerves or some sort of discomfort. Sorry, I'll go back to your perspective. Wasn't scared of the crab, scared of pushing Splash. Yeah, no, that either comes from a lack of confidence in you getting the pick, which it sounds like nerves. Because I feel it too a little bit, where it's like I'm so hungry for results that sometimes I can lose focus of just playing the game well. And yeah, Splash against Machine, you're chilling, especially when their backs against the wall. Because as the Splash player in the scenarios, I'm super panicked. Also, welcome in, Jorge. Is that really a question? Definitely lack of confidence. Nah, you're fine. The thing with lack of confidence is you have to it goes back to the exposure. And if you can pinpoint what's causing issues in fights, that's something you can work on. But yeah, it's much better to try to like just push and feed, and then you'll get better over time. But if you're to a certain degree, running quick respawn may give you some more confidence to push and take more fights. So like, even though QR is probably, I don't know, I don't really love it for Machine, but again, I could be totally wrong. It may mentally provide a little bit of clarity in the way that you play. Only a little bit. Thank you, Jorge. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hopefully you have a nice fun weekend of plans planned out ahead of you. I think it stems from your struggle to identify that you're in a bad situation or not. Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, if you can take any sort of honest 1v1 against a Splash, you just always take it. But, you know, if you have your teammate with you, that's just a situation where you have to be confident moving forward and just being okay with messing up. And like, your team is very aggressive. So that's the other part of the way that you all play, is that if everyone's not fully committed to taking fights, people are just going to have really bad feeds. So there has to be a certain degree of predictability and expectation of what, you know, what the team expects from you and the type of playstyle that you expect from your teammates, so that you all can kind of synergize together. But I feel ya. Nice shots. Yeah, it's like it's so hard juggling what your team's doing because there's just like a lot of stuff happening on other parts of the map, which it's hard to find stability because you'll have a crab, you're close to Booyah. Oh wait, did I back up to the point? Oh, that was this feed, sorry. I forgot I went back in time. Okay. So yeah, in this type of scenario, this is where you'll need to start looking to take space. As one thing that I'll say is, like, if we wait until the rest of our team comes back, then we're not going to be in a great spot anymore. And y'all just got a splat on someone over here. They're probably going to get a jump in, but we need, like, this is a timing window where we want to be aggressive. And I don't know if we play aggressive. I'm guessing we're going to sit on plat. Yeah. Like, we're doing nothing. We're not popping specials. This is like a window where you give up the entire map for no reason. And when we played Silly Kitties in Div 4 playoffs, we ended up losing to them, and we played this map mode and we did this exact same stuff. So I say a lot of this from my my own personal experiences, that we're giga throwing but not pushing off of our plat and holding on to plat for too long. Just made it home. I'm glad you made it home safe. Walk of shame. I'm not asking any further questions. Yo, Fantasy, hello. Welcome in. We're going over some team versus team tournament gameplay. Nice. Because yeah, as a team, you'll need to start looking to like move forward. And I can feel the discomfort here, but I like that you're constantly moving. Like, I would say one thing to help with one thing that'll help with your confidence in plays is feeling comfortable just being able to move just throughout plays. And I don't know, I don't think there's like a great word for it, but the idea of proactive movement. Because there's certain scenarios, if I'm playing Splash, if my movement is really clean, I don't even care that I'm missing shots. It's super important. Yo, welcome back, Reese. Hello. Didn't ask any further questions. You and I may be more similar than we think, Jorge. Like, this is like hard shot. Like, in this type of scenario, you're not like really missing shots. It's just really hard for you to like hit underneath this ledge. And like, your team is trying to like focus in on what we should be focusing on. But like, you're constantly moving through all this and you're able to get the pick clean, which is awesome. But y'all need to start looking to consolidate clams and use specials. Mobility's huge, yeah. And that's something, again, you'll notice from like really solid players. I'm trying to think of really good machine players that you can, like top level players where you can watch their VODs. Like Kyo's an obvious example, but Kyo's been playing so much Splatana lately. But, you know, if you can find like, I don't know, there has to be top team players that play machine. I know Miner is I don't know how much they stream, but like the Bucket or the machine player from Nightmare, the way that they play Bucket, there's a lot to take in and a lot to digest. I really like the way they play. Their aim is super good, but some of that comes from the decisions that they make and the positions that they make. Like, they hit a lot of like swipe shots, but if you don't have anywhere to look, I would definitely look for Miner. Let me just get there. Because I watched them a lot during their Ink TV run when they made it into the Ink TV tournament, but I think they're getting to the point where well, they have a YouTube channel. Maybe they posted some stuff there. But like, I think all the previous broadcasts are like slowly going away. So let me see. Let me see what they got on the channel. All the videos. Okay, people clipped a lot of stuff. So yeah, Miner's like dope. Super good. It looks like they posted a little bit on their YouTube, but anyways, here's their Twitch channel and I post it. But there aren't a ton of like machine players that I can find that really excel, but I love the way Miner plays. Super, super, super good. There may be other like, you know, like number one teams, but like that's like Div 1, Div X kind of caliber. So you'll definitely have a lot to think about. But I really respect their positioning, and I really respect their like patient aggression. It's hard to explain. Yeah. I like the initial push, and I like that you all, you know, were able to throw all of your clams to teammates. I think in this kind of scenario, your team should be looking, because one of them's coming out of spawn now, and the other one's right here. I think people on your team need to like take really good spots when you have the ability to do so, and like hold very, make it hard for the enemy team to like come in, because like the enemy team is just kind of pushing in like this this wiper flanks through, which sometimes that can be tough to find, but your whole team is like not holding the greatest of spots. Like the crab here is okay, but this is the type of crab where you haven't effectively wiped them. And when they're 3 down, and again, this is another thing when watching top teams, because I think our team struggles on this map mode as well. Like when y'all have this kind of advantage, y'all need to be even more aggressive with how you're playing. There's so much space for you to take, and I really want to see control of bats specifically. I think that you have weapons that can get into bats and play around bats and support the bat play like super well. And like your splash could take this rail, because like they don't have clams to score. So, like they could take this rail if they want to. Another way to get to bats. Yo, Amy. Yeehaw. Fake you. Wait, why is it fake? The realest of yeehaws. How you doing, Amy? Nice to see you. Another amazing competitive. How do you define yourself, Amy? Are you a competitive player? Are you like a salmon run streamer? I know you're a gamer of many hats, but I'm everything. Thank you. But yeah, you can also take this block, jump onto the clam, and jump onto bats as well. As a splash player, that's one way for me to get there, but they were already on left side, so they probably can just like, I'd much rather them set up a crab like either like up here or like up here, or like even down here. But we can do better than this crab. This crab is like entry, so the rest of our team can crash onto the plat. But our team's already crashed onto the plat, so we need to take more space, and this is like a perfect window to do so, because there's only one person left. Optic, thank you for the follow, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. A little bit of all, a little competitive, a little education, a little fun on the side. Next level technology on the stream. You are a tournament winner. That's something that I can't really say, but you are an actual tournament winner. That game, that Piranha Pit Clams game, was actually sick. I don't know where I'd go and find that game anymore. Is that like archived somewhere, or do you have like the recording somewhere? That was a sick game. Tournament winner is a crazy title. Yeah. Winning by like literal frames. But that's the only problem that I see, is that your whole team's playing like too low. Y'all could have taken space and we didn't. Like it's okay to have one person that wants to collect clams because y'all are in a good spot, but everyone else needs to hold space. They should have a hard time like just pushing in the bats, and they should have a hard time, you know. I think y'all can cover this drop pretty well, and that's why the wiper goes for a flank, but I think we can play this a lot better. Oh, that's the winning clip. Let's go, let's go. At least it's archived somewhere. But that's the only problem that I see, because like we end up popping crab and booyah while the rest of our team's trying to score, and it's just like it's just kind of a weird I don't know. Like, we didn't take any space when we had the opportunity to, so the control's only going to last a little bit. And we're so focused on scoring clams, and we're not already in high, like, we're not already taking high ground. So, like, you know, anyone kind of dropping on us while we're focusing on getting scores is going to be able to clean us up pretty fast. So I think that was the issue there, is that we didn't take space fast enough. That was a nice try strike on the Booyah Bomb. 15 hours. Oh yeah, I remember that, because you like didn't sleep or something. You're like playing with like no sleep. Actual dedication. Giving them bats and letting them get above isn't ideal. Yeah, I mean, the thing there is that if you're, when y'all get everyone down except for the splash, like, you don't need to use specials to take those types of positions. Like, you wipe them in a good spot, and if, as long as you move fast enough, like, the timing window, literally anyone on your team can take whatever position at that point, like any meaningful position. So like, you take those positions first, and then they either have to use specials to get you off, and this is where a weapon like Gloogas is very strong. And I actually don't know where Gloogas would want a position in this spot, but they could totally sit back here when the enemy team's trying to push in. They can get a wall down and they're just chilling. Or they can sit up here and they're just like chilling. Like, no one can drop on this. And like, they have to throw so many resources to like deal with this one person. And those are the kinds of situations that the rest of your team can pop off with. And that's, you know, again, playing and supporting the bats is something you can do really well as a machine. It's like, you know, whether it be a crab up here or even a T-Tech, although they don't have a lot of like safety. But Gloogas, especially with wall and its mobility, just like it demands their attention, and then you get to follow up on these ledges and clean up those fights. Gloogas kits make me very happy. Yeah, Glooga's a very interesting weapon. It's just, its shot velocity is like tough. But I don't play the roly-polies. But I do think it's a cool weapon. So anyways, that first push could have been massive. But weren't able to take space fast enough. And again, it's hard to say in a lot of these spots, but I think as a team, you need to decide what your goal is when you're like in these types of situations, because you're not quite ready to push, but you're like, and we don't have the ability to hear your comms in this kind of scenario. But like, you know, VDS throws down Wavebreaker, so we don't really want to push here, but it's okay because we can hold the space. But as a team, I'm not really sure what you're trying to do. Because like, Hammer gets that initial splat, and then we're trying to figure out how we want to play. The paint here is actually kind of huge from the Hammer. That's kind of unfortunate, but you know, we're at this point, we're taking a fight in enemy paint, so it's gonna be really hard for us to like to do anything. And your splash is playing like we're ready to push back here, and that's not a bad escape, but you probably don't want to sit here if you don't have someone committing with you, because VDS and Wiper are both pretty mobile, and they make it hard for you to be able to like hit your shots. Like, I don't hate the idea, but with your teammate getting splatted and Splash not positioning for you to be aggressive, you probably don't want to be as aggressive in that kind of situation. Because your teammates are probably close to their specials. Like, you have like Crab ready, and I think you just used a Booyah Bomb. I think that trade's pretty fine. Unfortunate that they had the Crab ready to go, but these are the types of spots that, yeah, that I think you understand that that you shouldn't be sitting on plat, but it's very dangerous for you to move. Like at this spot, it's like I can't really drop on them, but I don't want to sit here. I know I can be doing more. So when we get into these types of scenarios, I actually think the mistake here is like, I don't know. I don't love being on like this type of plot. Like if you're trying to slow down, you know, like if you want to take space, I think there's an opportunity, and obviously you don't necessarily know where these people are, but there is paint where you can like start moving left and like figure out what you want to do. So if you want to start pushing in the mid, that's totally fine. But if you want to hold your plot and play a little bit more defensive since you have a lead and you're waiting for your teammates to spawn in, I would probably rather us sit up here in bats or sit on clam or sit over here so that you have a better vantage point and you can throw more fizzy bombs. And it feels like we're giving up more space in these types of scenarios, but when you drop on the plat on this map, fortunately in this mode we do have the sponge that we can use to get back, but this situation gets very very awkward for you all. Let me catch up with chat real quick. You've been sick all week, sheesh. Yeah, glad you're feeling better. Wait, Celeste, you're done with the semester? Let's go. Let's go. Half asleep. Take care, Reese. Thank you for the replay. I believe in you. Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. That's a good thing to point out, Amy, is that you have a lot of base to paint. And that's kind of the game plan that you'd be going for if you were to hold these types of positions, is that you're looking to hold with, you know, all of the bombs that you all have. Because I think you all have a good amount of chip with bombs. But in these types of situations, I'd much rather you hold higher grounds if you're looking to defend these areas versus like sitting back here and it's super, super awkward. So yeah, that's just a decision based off of your comfort. Do you want to take space this way or do you want to like defend this area? And then yeah, pushing into the wiper. I think you got a little bit caught off guard, but obviously pushing into them isn't the best play. Like meanwhile, if we didn't take that fight, we could have constantly thrown bombs through like the choke points. And then once the enemy team starts committing to stuff, then that's when we can use crab, that's when we can use booyahs, that's when we can, you know, try strike and really start defending. 2 more weeks of school. Let's go. Let's go. I believe in you, Vapor. Although you're probably chilling at this point. Yeah, better sidelines for sure. Did the game break? No, okay. I don't know why it didn't pick up the climb for you. Because your team's constantly finding yourselves in like spots where you're taking like awkward fights. Like we're losing the plot. Like this was a good defense and we have an advantage, and it's like afterwards I'm not sure what your goal is. But, like your team needs to be exploding forward. And yeah, they do a good job of jumping in. That's definitely something that like their team is very scary about, is that if you don't take space fast enough, they're gonna continually get jumps in. Oh, the jump. That's tough. That's what caused that initial issue. But like I do like in this situation, like your team is playing a little bit farther back, but you know, you being alive with fizzies would be very beneficial for this type of push. Yeah. And it's just like a little bit of a lack of discipline, like losing to the wiper there. We should basically never take that kind of fight. I like that you go wider here. This is good in terms of like defense and everything. That power claim's tough. A little bit faster, and y'all are like this push. The lead here isn't that bad, but the lead is like super minor if they don't get that. But you're still in a decent spot. But this is where we need to start figuring out like how we're breaking in. And I think we're sitting around and like playing a little bit too scared. Okay. Yeah, it feels a little bit like a panic booyah, but I'm not sure. It seemed like your teammate was trying to score because the wiper gets through, but you're able to clean it up, which is dope. But like, there's two different ideas that we're trying to accomplish in this scenario. That's kind of causing us issues. Like, we're trying to push through this left side, but then we're also like committing to trying to score, and we can't support the Gloogas that has a ball and is pushing in by themselves. That's one thing I wish we did a little bit better here. Yeah, like this play here just feels like super desperate. Y'all have so many specials. You just popped 2 specials and you still have a Booyah Bomb in the chamber. And this is kind of like, I can just feel the desperation from your team. Like, we're not thinking about the bigger picture and like what we need to take control with. And maybe they feel the pressure of the wiper getting through and they're like, oh no, like this play is about to go bad. Like we need to start getting clams in. I'm not sure what's going on through their head, but we have enough specials out, and like, especially with this pick up here, and we do end up getting this one, but especially with this pick and bats, we need to chill a little bit here. And it's kind of an unorthodox play, but if you take control up here, your teammate can jump in and score. Like the jump in bat plays are actually not too bad on this map, because like getting into bats is like really awkward. But yeah, and, like you're using the Booyah Bomb to like panic save the, like partially you're trying to save this clam and partially you're trying to have this person sacrifice their life to score, but you need a little bit more than that in order to, like, I guess if you get both clams in, but realistically you shouldn't be able to get both. And yeah, there's just like a lot of panic. I'd much rather you all have like a comfortable push. But I think y'all had a window of opportunity. You missed that window and then you're like overcorrecting. Instead of just building for another strong push afterwards, because you still had like your Booyah Bomb potentially, and you still had opportunities to like hold control, but you just started throwing everything. Like, oh no, like we messed up. We didn't get this push. People have gotten picked. I'm just gonna start throwing stuff. Yeah. Like we're losing out on plans. I think we gave up a little bit too much space, like you were mentioning before. Like even with all this happening, which is tough that they go down, but the situation isn't quite as dire as it initially feels. Like y'all are able to get out, and I think this is a situation where you probably can play a little bit more, because you should know that the wiper is over here because your teammate just jumped out and y'all just got a splat on someone, so you know someone's coming out of spawn. Maybe they might jump potentially, but I think this is a scenario where you don't necessarily want to defend on bats because there isn't a lot of paint, but I think you can play a little bit like, not rattier, but get information about the situation. Like we're just defaulting to, I don't feel comfortable holding the stack, so I'm just gonna give it up completely. But you can keep them honest with like fizzy bombs, and you know, like a lot of their weapons, they're not necessarily gonna immediately like punish you for dropping. So like as you're running, instead of running back completely, like you can start getting some information and start getting some paint. But I think this is a scenario where we're too far extreme in one direction or the other. Like they threw a fizzy bomb and they're taking shots, but we don't have to like move back all the way. It's scary because they have specials ready and you know that the enemy team's trying to like push or hold control. But the fact that you all are sitting here, like you're like saving them a special effectively. And you'll end up like, again, like kind of overcorrecting. So I'd like for you to like fight for those scenarios, and like you can position, like you can still posture so that you can always retreat, but still try to fight for the walls a little bit more And if you have a ball in those situations, like I would throw away the ball. You still have your pity clam, so you don't need to be holding a bunch of balls if that giving away that information is what am I trying to say? If like them knowing where your position is too uncomfortable. I feel like your splash and T-Deck aren't paying enough. Yeah, and I think a lot of that is because we're not fighting for stacks as much as we could be. So instead of this paint being a little bit more even, yeah, they just control all mid themselves. Power game kind of crush our optimism. I gotcha. Oh, 1 best of 3. Yeah, no, I can definitely, I can feel the emotions through the play style currently. Definitely could have sat in bats pretty easily. They're on right stack to control mid and their ramp. So you're, oh, I went back too far, my bad. So they score and do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's not necessarily, yo Zelda, thank you for the follow. Hopefully you're enjoying the new game. Like throwing the ball here is like totally fine. I don't know if I'm necessarily comfortable going on stack. You could totally sit on the wall and get information, or you can like sit here and get information. But if you sit here, you don't want to be here for too long because like there's no paint. So if someone's swimming through here, there's a good chance they're just gonna like hit this. But in general, I just want you to like fight for more paint. Like I think this is where you use your main weapon and like, you know, start cutting off some of these areas and get yourself some information. Yeah. And like, I don't think your teammates are ready to necessarily push because they're still kind of respawning and everything. And you know that you have this wiper on the left side that's going to start trying to bully and take space. And this is already a bad matchup. So, you know, there's different options that you have. If this person overcommits, then you can look to, you know, kind of swim through and give support. But if you're going to support the wiper that's pushing through, it's important for you to have that consistent movement, you know? Because if you focus on this for too much, then these people are going to collapse on you and this is, you know, bad. So you have to understand that like if you go and help this, it's a very small window. But yeah, I think like you're saying, in general, you're able to just get paint. We just want to limit their options and at least have to fight for some of this control. And if this thing gets cleaned up, or, you know, your teammates are able to finally get in and assist, then like maybe you can start looking to push onto the ramp or push onto the stack and get fizzy bombs and have like follow up to go for those types of plays. But, you know, I don't blame you for not wanting to like fully go for this type of stack play right now. But if they're going to push you back this far, they better use a crab for it versus you all giving them the space. And then now we're just stuck. But again, it's hard. And this is sometimes where our team will struggle. If you don't know if you're like, because if you don't get help in these situations and you just get stuck on the right side and the enemy team just overloads this area, then like it feels really bad. So there needs to be, you know, a bit of team coordination to know like what we're trying to attack and give yourself options if you need to be aggressive or you know, more defensive and everything. But, you know, I do like you taking the space to the left though. Like they overcommit to this right side and then you find this opening. I like this. We have 2 specials, now we have the 3rd special. There's like an opportunity for us here. We still have to be scared about a C9 and basically like, you know, them scoring on us and getting the counter score. But, you know, I think there's been a lot of moments here where we've been slow to get our specials out. But we do end up getting that pick. I'll go back from your perspective so we can see what's going on. But I don't know. I think y'all can be like, I think your timing windows when you have multiple specials that you can chain together, like a crab and a booyah, I think you're a little bit slow and actually like looking for those plays. Because that's the nice thing about having a special advantage is that things don't have to line up perfectly. You only need like a little bit of value in that window. And the longer you wait, the less likely it is that, you know, the next X amount of seconds in front are going to be, you're still going to have that same special advantage. Yeah, by the tree side. Yeah. No, that's totally fine. You'll take care, Amy. Love the name of the wiper. Is that a reference to something? Murine? I'm probably mispronouncing the name. I never know what names come from. Oh, character from the anime. I see. It's a cool name. But yeah, I wasn't familiar. Like right now we have 3 specials and we're just like trying to take like weird, honest fights. Which I'm glad we got that out, but you know, we get the pick and we're still hesitant to move. Wait, did we use our crab? When did we use our crab? Did it get shredded? Or maybe we never had crab. Oh, we popped it here. Wait, why did we pop it so far back? It might be a lack of confidence. They could also feel the... Oh, whoops. I went not far back enough. Maybe they felt threatened by the hammer, potentially. Miorine? Gotcha. No, I appreciate that. It's like we're scared of the crab, but y'all do a great opportunity. Like y'all find the hole on the left side, and that's like super, super important. I just feel like this is too defensive. The fact that 2 of you all... In this kind of scenario, the fact that 2 of you all are like holding this area should give your crab confidence enough to hold this like left stack and crab top left stack. Like you don't really get, unless y'all were taking fights on this left stack, which didn't happen, this crab is not getting you any value, just like some paint. It's nice that we got a special out of the other Booyah, but I don't know. I think y'all need a better understanding of how we're pushing in and getting specials out, and you know, getting crab up here, getting crab on left stack, and like if we're using specials, that we have a plan to move. Because like you get Booyah out while your teammates are fighting, and then you throw Booyah and no one's ready to push. Which some of it is because of the lost space. At this point, y'all are just stressing. It's a tough world at this point. Oh, I need to really use the bathroom, but we'll talk through it in a little bit. Give me 1 second. Ugh. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think we're just looking for any opportunity to move in. We could have slowed down a little bit at the end there, but I can understand, you know, what the circumstances, kind of how everything went. But in terms of general themes, there's a couple of things that I think would help a ton. The biggest thing is, I don't know the best way to approach this. It's either like, just say like star positions. Basically important positions during a lot of points in the map. So if we look, I think the worst example of this is when y'all got 3 down and there was like the splash sitting in this area and we didn't look to take their bats at all. That's pretty bad. But there's also times where your team's trying to defend and understanding when it's okay to, you know, hold a stack versus when it's okay to still be in mid and play around the stack and look to move around and keep the enemy team honest. And then the times where, you know, we need to play defensively. And just because technically in the middle of the plot is farther forward than sitting on these types of positions, it's not necessarily better. And if we know that we're in like a defensive mode, we need to make sure that we're like holding good spots to hold these important type of these areas. And a lot of times when we could have held certain star positions, we were like not confident to do so. And we ended up sacrificing our specials. So like we crab here instead of crabbing up here. We crab here instead of crabbing back here or up here. I'm not trying to just pick on the crab because it like that space could be taken by anyone. I think your Gloogas in a lot of spots was like they didn't really play around the flowchart of rolling and getting walls out and everything. And they take like fights without walls and they're just like guessing a position. They drop to get a clam pod, which compromised their ability to get a wall out. And then they like sit here, try to take a fight on someone they predict up there, and then they drop down, and then VDS smacks them. And then there's spots where, you know, we don't feel comfortable holding the stack, so we retreat all the way back to our plat, and that causes the enemy team to just have complete control and complete paint in these types of areas, which is kind of like griefing us. So like knowing what they are, so know them, and I think y'all probably understand like where they are, but understand like your windows when it comes to timing, and understanding at any given moment, is it worth the risk? In certain cases there was no risk and you didn't take those timing windows and taking those important positions. But, you know, with the crab, for example, at the end of the game, using it back here versus taking a little bit of a risk over here. But the fact that two of people on your team are already like looking around these areas and helping support this left stack, y'all should be able to take it for free. I don't know. Those are big parts. I think also like defense, understanding them for scoring, like all the different scenarios you find yourself, you want to be thinking about these types of this type of stuff. And this is something that you can totally just do as a team. Like you can sit in recon together, you can sit in, you know, a Sindhu, just open map and screen share. You can just kind of talk through it and write stuff down, you know, naturally talk about it through games. However, whatever makes the most sense for you all to learn it, but make sure people are comfortable. There's also a thing in like solo queue. This is like where you can get value out of solo queue and getting better at these timing windows and, you know, confidence in pushing into them. And, you know, oh, if I'm a splash and I take this rail and I'm up in this bats area, where do I want to position to crab? You know, do I crab right here versus right here versus up here versus right here. And all of this you can kind of solve in solo queue. So you can come at the, like, you can improve on these in different ways, but as a team, you have to like do this. I think the other thing, especially for you all, is communication. I think y'all have a hard time, and this will go into the second one of commit. I can tell from your playstyle, there's a lot of times where you know you have an advantage, and for whatever reason, you don't use said advantage. Specials didn't give us space to move people, but we didn't capitalize on it. Yeah, usually that's from a lack of commitment. This point right here is usually if people are saying that they're going to use Booyah or use Crab, what we try to do is, and we're not perfect at it, but if I'm crabbing, I'm focused on, like, I'm not calling out that I have crab. I mean, I'll call it out if it, like, if I'm timing it for the rest of the team. But when I actually use crab, or if I'm about to use crab, you want to try, like, I try to call out the location that I'm crabbing. So in the spot toward the end of the game, when, your splash is sitting like here, and then your team, like, you all are like over here. If I'm this splash, and this is assuming that I'm taking this left stack and crabbing, like I'm going this way, like in their scenario, I would say, like, I get close to the stack and then I would say like crabbing plat, because my goal here is to push these people away or get chip or like look for picks. So sometimes they can help with the coordination, and especially with Booyahs, because there's a lot more decision with Booyahs. Usually crabs, you know what people are going to be looking at. But, for a Booyah, especially like there was a lot of times where you would use it, like, and as a team, I could just tell that you all aren't trying to play around the Booyah bomb the same. So if you're trying to, throw a Booyah onto their plat, or if you're trying to, or like, more specific, if you're trying to throw it on their choke, or using it defensively on right stack. Like a lot of times when you're like playing in bats and stuff on defense, once you have your Booyah ready, if your Booyah is getting used to help push out, then you can say like Booyah right stack, and then your team knows, okay, I can start moving forward because we're getting Booyah out. And then once it gets thrown, I know that I can like help with that. And for something like Booyah, sometimes you can be even more specific, where like I'm throwing behind stack, or you can figure that out, fine tune it to whatever's comfortable with you all. But there were so many times where y'all had special advantages, and then like those other times where we had numbers advantages against this lonely splash, and we didn't use our advantage. Because especially early and middle of the game, y'all played this game pretty well. And I think that first push you had could have won the game just alone. And then the other thing I would say, it's hard. I want you all to like, there seems like there's a lot of random fights. So I guess I would just say like, minimize chaos. I think on offense, sometimes you can use chaos to your advantage, but I just feel like people get panicked and they take like solo fights. Whether they're good or bad, I feel like y'all like resort to doing the solo fights, and y'all resort to chaotic plays because we're not comfortable. Either we have no game plan, or we're not comfortable with whatever game plan that we have established. And this goes back to committing with your specials, where like, if you just like use your special, use crab and Booyah together, and we just like, or you can use crab to take space and then Booyah after, or Booyah first, crab, you can figure out what works best for your team. But I think the hesitation and like sitting in these types of positions when we know we can be doing more is how this chaos is happening. But your defense was actually really good. I like when you took bats and like went wide and everything and got the clean up here. Like there was a lot of spots where I think you all have good ideas, but as a team, there's just either we're having a hard time communicating it or we've never really talked about it, and the game plan just isn't fully there. So that's something that I would definitely look to do. Like I think your openings were sample size of one game, but I think your opening was like fine. But the less, definitely no game plan. All right, well, plan. Y'all have been a team for a little bit. Plan. Doesn't have to be a good plan, but you know, as a team, you have like unlimited time between matches and tournaments to come up with plans. You know, it's like try to find, and this isn't something where you do it all in a week, you know. But like take this week. This is like what our team has done, where like during the Ludi season, like before a week, we're like, you know, we've really struggled on museum. We know we're gonna see this in a lot of different map modes. So let's take a week and let's learn it. Let's talk about the different modes, and you know, when we do scrims, we'll play that map mode a little bit more. And before we get into the scrim or before we get into the tournament, we'll come up with an opening and we'll come up with how we want to push and how we, you know, what does it look like if we're going to win the game? You know, if we're going to KO the enemy team when we wipe them and we're already sitting like, you know, if we're already sitting in these positions and we just wipe the team, where are we going? You know, or we get wiped, how are we positioning? What are important parts of the map that we need to hold in certain scenarios? You know, things like bats, super important. You know, stacks are obviously really important. Ledges to certain degrees can, they can be important depending on like a lot of circumstances. And like, you know, if you can get machine in certain spots, like y'all can take advantage of a lot of spots. And, you know, this lane, as an example, is really good for mid-range, and especially if you have a wall. So like having your Gloogas in this kind of position so that you can control this area so you have an easier time pushing on the stack. Like there's a lot of scenarios where these ideas can build, but if we're not working towards something, we're gonna continue to scramble. And that's like this is something that your team will improve drastically just having any sort of plan. And if you're looking like, because I know like as a team, because you all are really talented, and I'm sure y'all have probably gotten some upsets against good teams, but if you're actually looking to like push like, you know, mid to high level, let's say y'all are like totally mid right now, but like the mid high to like high level type team, you have to figure this out. And you don't have to figure it out like yourself. You don't have to sit and be like, okay, how do we do this? Just start by watching like top players, you know, pick a map. And I think you don't have to do like every single map mode. Like the modes will change the way you play the maps a little bit, but you know, choose a map that was on like Ink TV or was at, you know, one of the latest big tournaments that good teams played in, that was streamed and broadcasted. Ideally, you could find, if you can find the VOD of like the team itself. So like Kyo, in a lot of streams that in like a lot of tournaments that he's played in, he streams them. A lot of the Ink TV sets, I know that some of the people from Nightmare, I think, posted their POVs. Jared, you know, Jackpot won the whole thing, so you know, their VODs I think are out there, and they streamed other tournaments that they've been playing in. So, you know, try to find that kind of try to find a high caliber team that you can trust their decision making, and figure out how are they committing with their advantages. How are they piecing together their Booyah Bombs with their crabs, or, you know, a Tri-Strike with, you know, how do they order these? Where are they positioning them? How is the rest of the team responding to it? What are their goals with it? You know, you can also think about these key positions. You know, what positions do they find important? Who are they putting in those types of positions? What are they doing with it? situationally, you know, at what point are they comfortable like committing to taking bats? Like, does enemy team have to be wiped, or do they, if they have like a small advantage, and which weapons are taking these types of spots? And there's a lot that you can deduce, and it's not an easy process, but don't feel like you have to do the work yourself. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of really good teams that do this stuff already. Yeah, game plan. Yeah, definitely having the flexibility and being able to adapt to your game plan, super important. But y'all played this set. I mean, not set. There's only one game. Y'all played this game really well. Like I said, the initial wipe that so the initial 2v1, that's the other thing on the mental side. When y'all just straight up lost a 2v1 against a splash with the Glooga and the machine, like that is potentially mental breaking. That's the other thing I would say. There's a lot of emotions and there's a lot of like mental hurdles that I know that your team has to go through just based off of the way that I see y'all play in certain scenarios. So figuring out how we get better, like getting more reps is definitely, and getting more exposure is definitely going to help. But why do we feel so panicked? For us, when we were able to like there's certain maps that our team is super comfortable on. If you play us on Scorch, especially Scorch Clams, if you play us on Museum, our team is very comfortable and we get less nervous. If you see us play on, Manta is a map that we struggle on. Flounder, we've gotten better because we focus on them more, but like Manta, Flounder, I think Inkblot, especially Clams, is something that as a team we struggle with. And like these we haven't prepared for as much, so we feel a lot more uncomfortable and we don't have those plans set up. So, these things all kind of help relate. And then if you're less nervous and you're more focused about what you need to be doing in the game, then your aim gets better, A, because you're going to be positioning better and you're going to be working with your team better, and B, like, you don't have those emotional reactions that are like festering in your mind whenever anything's happening. You're not going to lose confidence to the splash because, oh no, like I remember the one time where I played against Splash and I lost a fight straight up, and I don't want to get embarrassed. I don't want to let the team down. I don't want to ruin the push because I died to the Splash. So I'm just going to like chill instead and wait for another play to happen. Versus, oh yeah, like, I have an advantage. Like my weapon has an advantage over there, so I'm just going to hold forward. And as a team, just understanding that you have the resilience and to push through. Because I talked about it before. I was I think y'all played against Capri Sun Sippin'. It was like the first YouTube video that I uploaded. Although I think I cut this part out in the discussion because no, that one was in full. Anyways, in my video, I think they were playing against you all, and I don't remember if you were playing or not. Because I think Avril was in there, so this full comp wasn't there. But I remember specifically talking about Stargaze and saying that like as a team, you all are very streaky. I think when y'all are like playing really well together, y'all are like very dangerous. But there's a lot of times where y'all kind of just like take fights by yourself and just kind of do stuff. That I think really limits the potential of what you all are trying to do as a whole. But yeah, I from hearing, like, from seeing you all play, from hearing your perspective, I think a little bit of planning would go a long way. And just start with one map. Take a week, start with a map. Pick a map that you see frequently, pick a map that you want to get better at, pick a map that you're uncomfortable with. I don't care how you do it, but just pick a map, understand what's important, understand what it looks like to win, and, configure the nuance as you continue playing. It was pretty bad because it was brought up immediately. Wait, were people flaming you for making a mistake? Because yeah, toxicity is tough. That's something. If people are toxic, well, I'm not trying to put my nose, like, team business is team business. You don't need to feel like you need to elaborate. I know how it is, but that's the other thing is that you have to try to bring a certain type of energy to the team. And that's also another thing that I've noticed within our own team. Is like bringing some excitement and bringing some hype. It can go a long way. Speaking of comms for future replays, would you want me to link a Twitch VOD? At some point, yes, but right now, replay codes are probably the easiest for me. But I'm trying to fix my setup so I feel more confident sharing my screen or sharing like a web browser and everything. But right now, just because I use my computer for like other stuff, but trying to move everything over so I'm not putting myself in a weird spot. But yeah, it's something I'm definitely open for and interested later on. But I need to clean some stuff up and move some stuff to other locations. Don't know if I like being described as streaky. Yeah, I mean it's not necessary. Like, I don't know. I would say most mid-level and low-level teams are very much streaky teams. Like, part of being a high-level team is consistent, like building that consistency. It's not even that you do stuff like super well. It's just that you're consistent with how you play. But I do think your team like are pretty aggressive, and then sometimes it feels like, and this is where the streakiness is. It's like sometimes it almost feels like a coin flip of if you all are gonna coordinate or take fights alone. And I think we saw a lot of scenarios where that kind of happened, where either we were taking fights alone or we were taking or we were pushing stuff together. But if y'all can reel it in for an entire set, entire match, entire set, entire tournament, like y'all can pop off for sure. But there's definitely something that can, you know, again, that can be said for a lot of teams. But I think especially with as aggressive as your team plays, which I think the aggression fits your team style well, but just making sure you're linking up with teammates. Not flaming, but more of a side comment of we should have gotten that kill. Yeah, that's as some high key toxicity in a team environment. We never want to hindsight anything. Like, even if you're like, you definitely don't do it in the middle of a game, but you shouldn't even do it like between games or like during a tournament. It's not to say like I'm not perfect, and definitely like I have to catch myself, or I'll say something like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that kind of thing. But yeah, that just, anytime those thought processes go through my head, you know, you can write it down if you want, or whoever, if they want to go over it, then you can write it down. But the biggest thing is like, we'll go over it in VODs, you know? Just any of those types of things we'll go over in VODs and just leave it at that. Because being hindsight is yeah, it's gonna cause people, and like in certain scenarios, especially when you're comfortable with your teammates, usually it's gonna be a non-issue. But you know, people live a normal life. People, you know, have school, a job, have friends, family, whatever the case is. There's a lot of potential stressors in life, and you never know how someone's gonna show up into a tournament or a scrim or whatever the case, you know. They might be dealing with problems at home. They may be dealing with, you know, stress at work, stress at school. You know, they might just be sick. They didn't get enough sleep. They might just, you know, not be having a good day. And there's a lot of things where that stuff may not be a problem about 60% of the time, but sometimes it can cause some issues. So, you know, creating those habits of, you know, oh, we'll talk about it in VODs, and then making sure you have time for those VODs is a nice combo to have to keep everyone in check. Yeah. Anyways, That was a good game. I think there was a lot of opportunities for you all to, you know, just outright win it. I think there's high points and low points from like everyone on the team. So hopefully, you know, when you come out of a tournament, hopefully you can find some games to get some value out of. I don't know, like, it's not the most time efficient thing, but I feel like I learn a lot about how my teammates play. If I can just get more like, I generally know how they play, but in order to understand the nuance of like how their brain works and how they decide to make decisions in a lot of scenarios, like, I'll watch a tournament, but I also am like addicted to this game. But usually for like there's those tournament sets where they either go really good or really bad in your favor. Like either you get stomped or you stomp a team, and then like I'm not really looking. There might be interesting moments that I'll go back and watch, but I'm not going to go back and watch the game. But it's helped me to understand how like the play style of my teammates by just going back to a set that we played in a tournament or a scrim and just watch it all from like, you know, pick a teammate and watch from their POV. You can pick up a lot about someone's tendencies if you're like super focused on just their gameplay. Because like I haven't, you know, outside of my own team, there's very few teams that I'll actually like. During the Ludi season, I would go back and any footage I could find of a team scrimming or practicing, or, you know, if there's a couple times where we played against teams where we've like scrimmed against them, or I ended up playing against Grillers, and I was on the Grillers before, and I know people's tendencies. But, you know, just watching from like your perspective, watching like the way that your like Luga's played, watching the way that your Splash played, like I've collected a lot of information about where the breakdown is, both like how they play and some of the mistakes that each person makes, but also, you know, when people decide that they want to go for fights and when people feel like the desperation. And you can't do it for every single team that you play against, but you want to at least have that type of knowledge for like your entire team. Because for our team, we've had a lot of restructuring. Saf played a lot of Splash and is now switching over to Carbon. And basically everyone on our team either has picked up other weapons. I'm forever a Splash player. but yeah, but when watching, like when Saf was initially picking up Carbon, when Bab was initially picking up Stamper, picking up Machine, playing a little bit of Splash recently, I go back to a tournament where I think there were good games. I just watch them play. When the pressure's on and, you know, like they're in a defensive spot, are they more prone to backing up? Are they more prone to like looking to take fights? There's a lot that you can learn from just sitting down with like a clear mind and just fully focus on your teammates of how they play. And in certain cases, you can help correct them, because there are bad habits that people develop, and having a fresh perspective of someone analyzing a bunch of your games can definitely help. Because team doesn't restructure that much. Fair. But even when Saf was initially playing Splash, which they weren't really comfortable playing Splash, but that's what the team needed, and they're a very selfless person, so they just filled the role of what we needed at the time. Like in that scenario, and it helps that I played Splash, but you can also, you know, you play with your teammates enough and you understand enough about the game, you can do it with all weapons. But like I'd look at the way that Saf played, and then a lot of times they would tend to play a little bit more aggressive, and like some of their crap positionings I didn't necessarily agree with, and there'd be little opportunities where they would be able to like push forward in certain spots and they would be too scared to move forward. And then I would like work with them and kind of talk through, you know, discuss ideas and get their perspective on it and everything. And that was like another way for us to really be able to kind of improve which I think helped a ton. It also helped me play Splash because I'm like, oh, like watching someone else play your weapon, it's like, oh no, like I'm stealing this. I love the way that they pushed in this scenario, and I like the way they played the situation. I'm gonna steal this. So, but yeah. Yo, what's up, Yori? Do you also review ranked matches? Yeah, most of what I do is like solo queue, whether that be X rank, Anarchy, Series, Open, whatever it is that you have. Yeah, in the Discord, you're more than welcome. There's a VOD submission channel that you can use to put in your replay code. In the rules, there's a template that I would really suggest people use. It's just a couple of other pieces of information that helps me a ton. And if there's anything specific about your own play or any questions that you had about the game itself that can help me as I'm going through the game, that helps a ton. But yeah, people are open to do whatever. Just don't do turf war. I can't really provide a lot of proper value. That's snow right now. Yeah, I feel you. And that's why like having coaches can definitely help, but I think when you're playing with your teammates, understanding how they play is good. But it's a time intensive process, and it's not the most time, it's not efficient. But if you're playing with the same teammates for a long time, like it's good to, you know, even if like if you're playing with them, you know how their brain thinks in a lot of scenarios. And that helps shape the way that I play. But yeah, really good game. I really appreciate like your thought process and answering some of the feedback that I gave, and you know, getting a better understanding of everything. Very much appreciated. That's a fun review that I had a lot of I get value out of, and hopefully others are able to get value as well. Yeah, that set was definitely winnable. There's a lot of spots, but I would definitely say, you know, getting specials out is probably the best thing that you all can do. Is just put yourself in situations where you're using your specials right when you have them. Or, you know, ideally like 3, 5, 7 seconds in advance. Know that you're about to have special and that you're trying to get into a certain spot so the rest of your team has time to react. So anyways, that's a good stopping point for me. We've hit the top of the hour and I'm running out of time. But yeah, if anyone's interested in providing any sort of replay codes, that can be, you know, scrims, competitive stuff. It can be ranked, solo queue, whatever it is that you play. I would love to be able to provide an outlet for you all to learn. So all I ask is that you join the Discord, read the submission rules. There is a template to copy and paste, and then there's a VOD submission channel. Create a new post in that channel with that information and the replay code. And we do all of the replays live on stream. So if y'all are interested in just watching, then you're free to watch and provide feedback and ask questions. I'm not perfect. I'm also here to learn, so I'm not always 100% right about everything. But yeah. And if you want your specific gameplay to be reviewed, there's definitely an opportunity for you to get your gameplay shown. There was a nice, especially from all the generosity from all of these different areas, whether it be the raid from Barry, whether it be the raid from the Ink Up. There's been a lot of just support over the last week that I've kind of gotten back into everything. So I've just really appreciated kind of talking to you all and y'all entertaining this type of content. It's something that I think people in the community do a really good job at, and I just want to be another resource. I think it's something that we need more of, and from different perspectives. So I complain about it so much. At a certain point, I'm like, okay, well, I should probably at least like try. But there's a lot of really good outlets for this type of content. Obviously, like Jim and what Jim does at Squid School is Really, really, really awesome. Prochara, I think, does some gameplay analysis. FLC, whenever he decides to stream, is always a valuable resource. Fuzzy is a competitive player that has a lot of knowledge about stuff, so they don't always review gameplay and everything, but they've been doing it more recently. And yeah, you need to bully a backliner into doing this. I had one of my teammates' son is like an E-leader main, and he had a solo queue game that he played that he showed, but I know that we have some additional Charger gameplay coming up. I am Leader. Yeah. So yeah, but that's been one of the interesting things about doing this, is that there's such a variety of different weapons and ways that people play the game. But it also helps me because I want to do more like general content. And there's a lot of common pitfalls I see from different play styles and different skill levels. So this is helping me with some potential additional content. Anyways, sorry, I'm buying time. Me talking through this stuff, not that what I say is meaningless, but this is me buying time so I can find someone to raid. And I see Amy on, so we raid Amy. But there's a lot of awesome people streaming right now. Burb is awesome. Amy is awesome. Dory is awesome. Mailbox is awesome. Sure, there's other people. I have a whole list of people that I'm scrolling through, but a lot of people are playing Zelda right now, which they're awesome as well. Oh, review other backline? Yeah, I mean, I could definitely get Sun's been in the chat for some of it, but yeah, I mean, if we had something planned, I guess for this type of review, I could probably get Sun on tomorrow to provide another backline perspective. Because I respect and appreciate Sun's perspective on stuff. Yeah, Vapor, you as well. Although I was watching your Charger. Your Charger was looking a little sus in some of the scrims I was watching yesterday. But we don't talk about it. That mincemeat game didn't happen. I wasn't watching. Everything else is lit. Come on. Number one Explo. In the game and in my heart, but especially in the game. Sorry, I'm just giving you a hard time. Anyways, have a good night, everyone. Appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all soon. Oh man.